just like that.
We're rolling.
What's good?
So?
Okay, so wait, we picking up where we just left off?
Yeah, so I'll do a little intro here. How are we?
Alright, do I have to say my name?
Mr. Almeida.
What up? I'm talking. Mr. Almeida.
Back for some more.
Yeah, the last time was really fun, so I had to come back.
Absolutely.
I really like the talk, so I hope we have some better ones.
I'm glad, man. So,
yeah.
Let's do a little background. It's nighttime. There's curfews coming soon, so this is the last day we can see each other legally. I mean, technically, this is probably illegal too, right?
Or else we get handed like $1,000 fines.
6,000 even.
Are you serious?
Yeah, who the fuck knows, man?
I thought it was, wow, okay.
Shit's mental.
Yeah, it's really tough. Really tough, you know, like, wait, are you gonna still be working?
Yeah.
Okay, me too. Do you have a paper?
Yeah.
Yeah!
You got one printed too? Bro,
oh my God.
we're the special ones.
Oh my God, yeah.
Privileges.
Man, I really wonder if the cops are gonna be patrolling, you know? I really wonder if they're gonna be pulling people over.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Cause like, they haven't. You know, like, I've seen actually a lot of cops, like a lot more cops recently. And they do pull people over, but for like regular things. You know, I don't see ever like these fines given out for like social distancing and like house parties and all that. You know, that doesn't happen in my area, so I don't see it. I don't know if it happens in yours.
I've just heard stories online, but it's like few and far between.
Yes, but
I don't know anyone who's been pulled over.
I feel like now it might actually happen.
Maybe.
Especially because we have like, it's like they're like they putting the foot down. You know, they're like 8 o'clock.
I don't know, man.
No more people. They even said like the cops are gonna be patrolling. I'm like, okay.
But I also feel like the cops are broke right now. They're all underfunded. They don't have the resources to go and set up roadblocks and shit.
We're always underfunded. Yeah, no, maybe not roadblocks, but just like patrols.
Just pull you over.
They already do.
Papers, please. Man, what the hell is happening to our world?
Bro.
This reminds me of stories that like my grandfather and my father used to tell me about like Soviet era Poland and shit.
Oh my God, okay.
You know, you get pulled over, papers please, you gotta show them passport, documents, are you a valid citizen?
We're definitely going through an intense time right now.
Is it messed up?
It's not anything like
because think about it, if you don't have your papers, you're like an invalid citizen or you're an unessential
worker.
Yeah, like what the hell is that, man? How can you be unessential? Like, does that make sense to you? Essential and unessential people?
Yeah, it does. What the fuck? Another firework or like gunshot. No,
I don't think there's gunshots in this part.
I wish there was. Oh my God.
We're like surrounded by mansions.
I miss
right
NDG, bro. We actually heard like a lot of this. Like,
there was actual gunshots.
We don't know. There was just a lot of loud noises, a lot of like shots. What the fuck? Okay, like at least let us see it. Like, oh my God. But there was always cops, like every fucking day. That's why I was so cheap. But I do want to go back to the essential worker part. I do believe that there are certain individuals that are essential compared to others that are not. Like, okay, everything weighs, like has its importance in society. Like a doctor, very easy to go to, is more like essential than like somebody that sells recreational toys.
Yeah.
You know, like no shade to them. But there's clearly more of an importance and there's more of a need. Like if okay, like obviously, like if you have like a minimal amount of resources and you can only spend it in certain areas, you want to spend it in the areas that have the most reach, the most impact, right? Those are the essential workers.
I see what you mean, but I think there's just something.
Fucking fight me on this.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I'm always down for debate. You know me.
Yeah, let's get it.
I just feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with declaring someone essential and unessential.
Is it the label that you don't like?
A government doing that, because they just kind of arbitrarily choose. See, you know me, I'm like a capitalist kind of guy. I like my free markets. Yeah, let the people decide what's essential or not.
Let the people.
Because the people are going to choose to go to places that are essential, and they're going to avoid the places that are dangerous and not very essential. And so those places aren't going to have patrons or whatever, and they'll close.
Yeah.
Or they'll lower their staff, and things will regulate themselves. But having this authority just kind of pick and choose who's essential and who's unessential, you're kind of at the mercy of them making the right decision. And it's a very slippery slope, man.
So you're saying people would choose, right? People, if they're left like to their free will, they will choose which ones are important and they'll choose which ones to go to.
Yeah.
So everyone has a choice.
You said like a doctor. Obviously, everyone's still going to go to a doctor when they need to, or to the grocery store because they got to get their food. But what were you saying? Something about a toy maker?
Yeah, people wouldn't like. They're not as essential as a doctor, I would say.
So,
but I think
if people are low on cash and they're afraid there's a pandemic out, they might get sick. They'll probably avoid going to the toy maker, dude.
So it would be left. The choice would be left up to every citizen. Therefore, like everyone, like the government is not forcing any closures. We'll be like, we'll let the citizens decide and they'll choose because it's free market, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that falls within a free market. Would that fall within?
Well, yeah, it's just a free society.
Okay, free society. So therefore, every business is open. Therefore, everyone is still generating money.
But that doesn't mean every business would stay open. I'm
No,
saying
it doesn't.
Over time, it would regulate
It doesn't.
itself.
It doesn't. But every business would stay open, so everyone would still have the same amount of cash. Everyone already before was operating under the assumption that I will only go to the places that I want to go. Every other place that I don't want to go is not an essential place for me.
Exactly.
That is already what they're running under the presumption of. Now COVID happens. The government's like, you guys decide. You guys decide.
But we've always been deciding.
Exactly.
It's nothing new.
Exactly. So putting like I don't think that what you're saying would happen. I think that nothing would change. People will be like, okay, I'll only go to the essential places, but what I deem essential. And what I deem essential is the grocery store, the doctor, all this stuff. But I also believe that, repairing my car is essential. I also believe that, getting gifts for my friend that has a birthday is essential. I believe like going to this place, places that aren't really necessary as essential because they have that preference.
Yeah.
It would counterbalance people's desires, people's wants versus their like needs and like what other people want and need. It would still fill the same void. Nothing would change. There wouldn't be like there wouldn't be a total consensus and everyone's like, we should stop going to the casual spa or something like that. People would be like, I need my fucking beer. I need my social time.
That's very true. But again, you're operating on the assumption that the government makes good choices. That they're somehow all-knowing and they're going to make perfect choices. They're probably not going to make a perfect choice. And what I'm saying is...
Whoa. Perfect choices?
Yeah.
No, I don't fucking think the government will ever make a perfect choice.
They're not going to make perfect choices.
I don't believe in perfect choices.
But people on a whole do make almost, I would say, perfect choices.
People on a whole
as an average.
They make biased choices that
Individuals make biased choices.
And then,
but I'm saying as an aggregate, when everything balances itself out, you'll get
an average. You won't get a perfect choice.
But for the level of risk that's out there, like the pandemic's bad for some people, I don't want to get into how bad it is. But let's say it really, really was a bad pandemic and people saw with their own eyes that everyone's freaking dying. They wouldn't be going out. You wouldn't need to be told to not go out.
I think what you're suggesting would work in a much smaller, much condensed population or area, because like you're saying, like people have to see it, right? I don't see anything that fucking happens like 10 kilometers further from me. Like I don't see anything that's happening in another country. I don't know what's going on. I hear it, and when you hear it, and even if you see it on TV, it's devalued. It's diluted through the medium. You have to see it in person to feel like an impact.
Yeah.
See the consequences in person, which would happen in a smaller society. And then they would be like, oh, holy fuck. I shouldn't be doing this because I know it leads to that. Where if I see it, it's like, okay, they fucking shouldn't be doing that because it leads to that. But what I'm doing here, it's not going to affect that.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah. So like, man.
But the alternative to have a central authority plan everything out for you, you're assuming that they're going to make perfect decisions. And if they don't, what if they make a mistake?
Isn't that okay? Like we're talking about ideas, but isn't that like the ideal form of a government? Like we put our faith in them, hoping that they will do the best for us. Because that's why we elected it. We originally were like, we need a set of rules and order
But
to
there's
better
also
govern the people.
there's also rules that the government has to follow.
Yeah.
See, there's like constitution that governs how governments
How
operate.
governments operate. Yeah.
But
How they run, yeah.
you want that to limit their power to an extent so that they can't just tell people you're essential, you're not essential. Because like I said, fine, I understand it's a pandemic. You can argue that this is a good excuse for it, but it's a slippery slope. As soon as you give them that power, bad people are going to want that power. You've made like this treasure chest now of power that everyone wants to get a piece of.
Yeah.
And bad people are going to get in there. It's just human nature, and they're going to abuse that power.
Yeah.
Who's to say that
That's going to happen anywhere, in anything.
But that's why I'm saying you just don't give that power to a central authority in the first place. No power to give out to bad people means no problems.
Power will always create it. Like, even if there is no power to be given, power will always be created. Power will be created in a vacuum. Like,
yeah, the power is always there. I'm just saying,
even in a free market, even in
are you going to give up your power to a central authority? And how much are you going to give out? Because you can't give out none. We do need government to an extent, but how much power are you going to give them? I'm arguing give them as little as possible.
Yeah,
because if you give them a lot, there's potential for bad things to happen.
Yeah.
Because then they could say nothing malicious, but let's say they say, okay, you're essential, you're not essential, and they make a mistake. Now, I'm actually going to go one step further. What if they are malicious? What if those bad people do get into power? What if you have one wrong election and suddenly they say, you guys aren't essential, and actually you're not worthy of living either, so let's put you into prison, or let's cull you off,
That's the risk.
That's the risk, but you wouldn't have that risk if you just didn't have that central power in the first place.
Well, I agree with you in saying that, like, we should limit their power. They do have a tremendous amount of power, but you were saying that we still need them, right? Just to a lesser extent.
To an extent.
Yeah, so we still need them. There will always be a power higher than us, because even if we put like a little, even if we give them a little bit of power, they will still have a higher power over a single individual, right? No matter how big, because it's an accumulation.
Not necessarily. You can have a situation where your government has less power than the individual, and that they're only responsible for a few tasks, maybe like national defense or something like that. So I actually want to ask you, how much power would you want to give them? Like, do you think it's okay for them to decide who's essential, who's not essential?
Okay, well, you need laws, right?
Yeah.
You need laws, and then you need individuals to enforce those laws.
But who gets to decide what the laws are?
Well, the people. Everybody. Free market. Like, everybody decides. And then once everybody decides, boom, put in stone.
Okay.
Then now it's regulated. So, like, to protect everybody, you'll have to make a rule that protects everybody. And once you make a rule, doesn't that take away the freedom a little bit? Because now you can't contradict the rule. Just a little bit, yeah. So you give away a certain bit of freedom for everyone. So let's say you have like 100% of freedom, you give away 1% for everyone's security. You kind of have to, like, you can't just throw out every single rule, because then you'll have no freedom, right? So you just throw out like a bunch of rules until you have like an equilibrium. Again, I don't know how much, but this would be decided on like the people. How much freedom do we want to give up for the security of everyone else? And then it's regulated to that extent, and that's how it should be. I think over time, that balance can shift unknowingly, and that's kind of like what's happening now. We're creating, like, as time goes on, I feel like we create more rules than we kind of like abolish. We have rules from like decades ago,
and especially we just keep adding and adding to them.
Yeah, especially in the States, they have so many rules that they always reference that they never fucking change, never revise, and it's like in science we constantly revise information based on the most current understanding, right? But in laws, we don't really do that. We do, but not to the same extent. We can. See, I think... No, I'm not, we definitely can, but I don't think we do. I think what's happening is that there's a kind of point of no return, where once you give an entity, a government, or whoever, enough power, they could just kind of chain reaction their way and run away with more and more power over time. And once you cross that,
It's very hard to take that power back. They'll keep taking more and more to themselves, and they'll grow kind of like a cancer.
Yeah. There's no real accountability. Maybe to minimize the power of a government, maybe there should be a dual government. You know, one that runs the country and then one that runs the government itself, or something like that, or one that keeps the government in check.
There actually is a system like that.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's what the Americans used to do.
Oh,
it's kind of...
Wait, is there a system like that in Canada? I thought.
You know...
Because I know in America there's like there's like a trifecta or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's like Senate, Parliament, and then like the President? I don't know.
No, there's...
Or no, the White House.
Yeah, there's a Senate and Congress, the two houses of Congress. Then there's the executive branch and the judicial branch. So like the, what are they called? The Supreme Court.
Okay.
So those are the three. But
ideally,
look, I'm not an expert.
Work.
I'm not an expert on
None
civics.
of us are.
None
of us are.
But I've been really passionate about this recently because, you know, I don't know. I just like learning new things. So
no, me too.
I've been really learning about civics recently, and seeing especially what's happening in the States and our own politics here in Quebec. Makes me wonder, you know, what are good systems? Why do they work? Why don't they work?
I don't think it's that. I think a lot of people are throwing shade at our systems, and it's because like our system is like old. You know, it wasn't a bad, like we wouldn't have. We're not like shit people. You know, down to the core, right?
Yeah.
We kind of implement what we think is the best, at least at the time. So when we implemented something, we thought it was a good idea. So it's not like it's a bad system. It's definitely flawed, like everything else is.
Everything's always going to be flawed.
Exactly. I think over time, corruption comes into play, and maybe.
So how do you minimize that?
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe we haven't really figured out the best ways to minimize corruption. I think what's needed is like a more open discussion, one less with like a confrontation and more with understanding. Instead of being like, no, I'm fucking right, you're wrong, and these are the fucking reasons why. It should be like, okay, I hear what the fuck you're saying. I hear what you're saying. What about this? And it's like you know, you want to come to the same conclusion, or you want to reach the same end for the people, right?
Yeah, mutual understanding.
Yeah. I feel like that's more so here in Canada, but in the States, it's really like, fuck you, my shit is right, your shit is wrong. It's like a back and forth. It's not. It's like it's
very polar.
It's very polar.
But see, I actually don't even think that's much of a problem either,
because
it kind of prevents one side from just running away with everything.
Kind of makes one side run away?
No, it prevents one side from running away. Because in a way, like, that conflict is good. I'm not saying it's perfect or anything, but that conflict kind of keeps each side in check, and it prevents that one side from just totally dominating and being just the dominant force for the next 100 years or so.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but why does there have to be two sides? Why can't there be like an integration?
Well, there could be like 3 or 4 sides.
Why does it have to be why can't there just be a unity? You can have like differing opinions, like, you know, individuals produce different sides themselves. They have different opinions. Why does it have to be like, okay, we're all gonna be on this viewpoint and you're gonna be on this viewpoint, and it's a constant debate between like class A and class B?
I think that's just kind of human nature.
You think so? I think, yeah, okay, no. I think it is human nature to be tribal.
Yeah.
To break off into groups and protect your own group because it maximizes your safety and security.
But there's a way to coexist.
Yeah.
And we should build a system that like encourages good behavior and coexistence while still fostering that kind of bit of debate to keep each side in check so they don't just dominate.
I think we have that system in place. We just started off with the wrong foundation. Look at the States and look at Canada. Both have like the same kind of system where it's independence.
Oh, it's pretty different.
It is different, but it's because one started off with a different, you know, setup than the other. America started off with like massive, like a massive population growth from slavery, right? Like a large population were slaves, and then after they transitioned to like free individuals.
You know,
Canada had that too,
but
to a lesser extent.
I never understood why the States were so into slavery. Like,
Well, in the South, they were much more agricultural, and they depended on their slaves to produce a lot for them. Where in the North, they didn't really need it as much.
Yeah,
that's one aspect.
I kind of understand that. It's hard to put into question. It's like they had this beautiful system where they were, preaching kind of every man is equal, every man is free, and then it just didn't apply to certain people. It's like, how could they have let that happen?
It's because people were weak, they're like people are like afraid of upsetting other groups because of confrontation, right? So if half your nation has like slaves and wants to keep them, and you want to kind of create unity amongst your own people to move forward, you might not address a certain topic. You might not address a certain topic so that you could achieve unity. We're all free. And like the people in power are white people, unfortunately. So the white people are like, yeah, we are. So like we're a free fucking nation.
I guess in a way you could also say you were free to fuck people over as well. If you have ultimate freedom, you have the freedom to enslave.
You do, but
which is
that is definitely
true.
Don't you think that's counterproductive though? At a certain point?
Oh yeah, for sure that's counterproductive.
Yeah, okay.
But it's like if you do give people ultimate freedom,
you
give them the freedom to fuck around too.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why there's like I feel like a balance that you have to achieve at the individual level, which then extends to like the tribal level. Don't sabotage other tribes because you don't want those tribes to sabotage you. Just like don't fuck over someone. Like I wouldn't fuck you over because I don't want you to fuck me over. It's mutual, it's reciprocal. We want our survival, right?
There's like reputation at play.
Yeah, it's kind of like we don't think this already, but like we kind of know the importance of it. Like there's real value in it. It's just not ingrained in us. It's not like a program.
See, this kind of goes back to what I was saying before.
Mm-hmm.
We just naturally seem to always find this kind of balance where we end up just regulating ourselves. If too many people are fucking over a certain group, people are like, well, are they going to come for us next? And so they kind of start a war or something, and it fixes itself. So I think we just have to just believe, just trust, just go through with it and know that this is the best way. And that all the alternatives will just lead to worse solutions because it's like it's provable,
That, yeah.
If you do give a certain group too much power, whether it's the government or whatever, once you cross that line, they run with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to, even if it seems like in the short term it's going to be painful, just run with it. Let people be free.
I think that could apply in a lesser developed country. We are at the point where we could kill people in an instant. If like that's a moment. A person could be like, fuck it, in one moment, and like thousands of people are dead. If you had freedom to do whatever you want, and then like you would have like humans self-regulate themselves because of consequences of their actions, right? So if on a smaller scale someone like did something really stupid or like lashed out and like took full freedom and like started dominating, other people would be able to stop that.
See, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying we have the power to just wipe people out.
Yeah, and I'm like Trump.
If
Trump.
No, but I'm saying if people really did see that as a real threat, they would have the freedom to also arm themselves and defend themselves.
Which they do.
So it wouldn't happen.
No.
It would regulate itself.
People have
with enough time.
The ability right now, and I'm not advocating for this. People have the ability right now to cause anarchy in the streets of the States and like attempt to like stop Trump, right? Which they can definitely do. They have that power.
Why Trump specifically?
Because I feel like that guy is slowly becoming a totalitarian.
I never understood that, man.
Or like a dictator. Like
I never understood that. That's.
Oh man, if you want to get into this, I'm not.
Let's go. Debate 2.0.
Okay.
See, because
based off limited knowledge, but okay.
I used to also hate him too.
Okay.
There was a time where I was like, he's a madman. He's crazy.
I don't really.
I drank the Kool-Aid. I believed it all, and then I started really looking into it, and I was like, what the fuck? There's a whole half of the population that think he's their champion of freedom.
Yeah.
And that everyone else just sees it wrongly. And how do you reconcile those two viewpoints, where he's a dictator or he's a champion of freedom? How could the same man represent those two viewpoints?
Well, they can represent two viewpoints based on like two people viewing it, right? From two different sides.
But how could they be so far apart? You know, one
It's
one
because-
group thinks
yeah.
he's a dictator,
Mhm.
the other think he's the complete opposite.
Well, it depends what you look at, right? If you look at what he says a lot of great things. And he's a very smart guy. I don't actually really despise Trump. But I can disapprove of what he is doing, right? Like, he says one thing and he does another thing. So one people are looking at what he says, the other people are looking at what he's doing. Okay, first of all, actions speak louder than words.
100%.
Right? Like, you can say whatever you want, and that shows me what you think. But what you actually do and put out into the world shows me what you believe in. You know, shows me what you really desire and what you're willing to put into action and achieve. Trump is like, you know when you lose a game as a kid, you get fucking mad. And you're like, it's not me, it's all fucking you. It's your fucking fault. The fucking game's rigged. You blow up, you throw a tantrum, right? That's what I see what's happening. But if you have I'm not saying like the like voting for your president, I don't think like that's like, I don't think it's perfect. I think that it might be a little rigged, it might not. There's definitely flaws. But when so many people, or so many like different types of authority says like everything went fine, you know, and Trump is just going on, especially during a pandemic. Like, pick your battles. You know, this is what, his first term? He has a chance for a second.
Yeah.
Right? But he's going so hard on saying that the elections were rigged. This shouldn't be happening. He should stay in power. He's putting lawsuits everywhere. It's like, you're not displaying a good sign of character. You're not displaying like a leadership quality. You're displaying a child's like quality. Like, I'm sorry.
My God, this is so fascinating.
Yeah. Okay.
So fascinating.
You could interrupt me. Say your piece. Like,
I want to hear your piece.
Because I like to get contradictions of opinion so I can develop my own statements better. But yeah, it's just he's not displaying like a leadership quality. He has a second term. If he really wants to get back in there, he has a second term. Like, he is saying one thing, talking to one side of the population. A leader should be talking to both. Okay? A leader should be thinking about the citizens, not thinking about themselves. Like, hey, like, if you're losing, that's fine. You have a second term, but like, the people right now are dealing with a pandemic, dealing with a broken economy. Maybe the attention should be on them. That's why you are elected to represent the people, ideally, right? To have their concerns as your own. He's not showing that. He's talking a lot about the election, his election, right?
I'm telling you, man, it's just so fascinating to see that.
Weak arguments, by the way. Weak arguments, not well fleshed out, but could definitely be better fleshed out. I want to know why you think he's not like, he's not the closest thing that we've seen to a president trying to become a dictator, holding on to power, preventing democracy, like the democratic system. Like, he might even start a tactic that has been like repeated throughout history, where like, okay, there's like civil unrest, right? Like, there's like trouble with the people, like they're not happy. How about we distract them? Let's cause a war. How many times has it happened with like Bush, with Kennedy, you know, with many other presidents? I don't know, Roosevelt? I don't fucking know. I don't know the state's history that well. But
Roosevelt, I think that was I'm not an expert in that history.
sure.
That was World War II.
Maybe. I think he was
Or
in the
after?
beginning.
Beginning, after?
Yeah, then I think it was like was Jimmy Carter in the Civil War?
No.
No.
Jimmy Carter is very recent.
Very recent.
Well,
Not the Civil
not
War.
very
Sorry,
recent, pretty recent.
The Cold War.
Cold War.
Cold War. That's what I meant. Cold War.
Yeah. Like
He was the Cold War,
end
right?
of it, I guess.
Which was right after World War II. We're not historians. Oh my god.
I'd have to like do some research and get a little cheat sheet, you know, to debate you on that. But I want to get back to the Trump stuff because I just find that so interesting, and just to play devil's advocate here, it's like the fact that
Hold the fuck up. Whose side are you on? No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
it's unbelievable, man. The fact that the same man doing the same actions can have such separate outcomes to two different minds, I find just incredible.
It is incredible.
So, man, because
That's why I'm saying he's very smart.
You said a lot, and I want to hit each point.
Go ahead.
So,
I'm sorry if I interrupt.
no, it's all good.
I will interrupt.
I don't even know where to start though. So,
Start at
because there was a lot.
There's a lot of unpacking. What he says and what he does. You can start there.
What he says and what he does. So he speaks about making America great, right? That's like his fundamental thing. Let's make it great. Well, look at the man himself. Is he not great? Has he not achieved the pinnacle of success, financially speaking, or economically speaking? I mean, even in other ways, he has a beautiful wife. He's got wonderful children that all look up to him, and they run his businesses for him. He taught them well. So that's his family life. Super successful there. In terms of his businesses, man, the man's known all around the world. His Trump brand is humongous.
He has a symbol.
So he built up that symbol. He built up that business economically. Like I said, he's doing great. I mean, like, what else?
So on the face, he looks like a leader. He looks like an example.
He's
for the
saying
people.
He's saying let's make America great, and he is a great man.
Yeah, he's like,
So
I could do this.
he knows how to get there. Exactly what you said. So when you say what he says and what he does aren't the same, I look at that and I say, well, that's not true. What he does is what he says. He's one of the only honest people out there in the public image right now. A lot of people, like you said, don't really follow what they speak of. They'll say one thing and they'll do another. But he is honest when it comes to that.
I feel like you're broadening like what he does. Like what he did is he made like a success out of the success that he already had, for sure. He became a symbol of like, I could be like, this is the American dream. I represent it.
Look, I understand no one does it alone, and
No,
like,
I'm not even
people say,
talking
oh,
about
he
that.
got his $1 million
I'm not
loan
even
or whatever.
talking about that.
But still, you know,
What he does during the presidency is completely different
Okay.
from what he did with his businesses. It's like if you're gonna say one
I
thing
would
to the
disagree
people,
with that as well.
Well, we're talking about more the presidency and like how it's like being run and like the whole like controversy around it, not his background.
So first, I wanna hear your opinion on like what he didn't follow through, because he made a bunch of big promises,
Oh my
a
God,
lot
we
of
gotta,
big
like,
speeches
It's
before.
4 years worth. I can't go through 4 years. I can't even go through the recent. I'm not like again. This is like the States, right?
I know.
This is like not even our fucking territory.
Give me a couple of examples then. Just
Oh
two.
man, if I could
Just
even
two.
think of any. Okay. Shit. The most recent ones, I guess, the storming of Parliament by his supporters, right? That's a very violent act. You know, to raid a national building.
But he didn't tell them to do that.
No, but he didn't, like, as like the leader.
And he explicitly told them not to do that. He said stay peaceful.
After.
No, even before. Have you
I
ever
didn't-
listened to
I
any of
didn't-
his speeches?
I've seen some. I haven't seen them fully. Again, I'm not fully into this.
Okay, well I have.
Okay.
So I went deep into it. I was like, you know what? These people, they say he's horrible. I don't trust people in the media so much. So I went and I checked myself. I actually went and listened to some of his speeches, and I wasn't convinced that he's this evil man.
Well,
he
yeah,
speaks of love
yeah, but
and about
why are you?
loving your country, loving your fellow
Why would you
man.
listen to someone and just take their word for granted? I could say all kinds of lies to you. I could say sweet talk to you, and you will believe me because I could say it well.
Okay, but again, what he says and what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Before he became president, people did love him. There's a lot of other business people out there that were like, God damn, you know, Trump, he's a tough cookie to crack, tough businessman to work with. He's hard on the deal, but I love working with him. He took that into his presidency, I'm sure of it. And I'm sure behind closed doors,
Mm-hmm.
when they're not spewing bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
he gets those deals done, and people do love him.
You know, like the fallacy of like expert opinion or whatever. Like someone, like people believe like the expert opinion because they're so educated. So, but there's a fallacy. Like somebody really smart in, I want to make something like really obvious, but whatever. It's not going to be. Someone really smart in biology can't really give you an expert opinion in like economics.
Not necessarily.
They could, but
if they're not educated at all, but
yeah,
they could be educated in both.
But this is what I'm saying. Like people will look to this biologist and be like, "Oh my God, you're so fucking smart. Everything you're saying is true." And then they might say some other random shit about something completely unrelated to biology. But people are like, "This guy's smart. You know what the fuck he said before was true."
I see what you mean.
And now he's saying it about this. It motherfucker might be true too.
I see what you
That's
mean.
Trump. You know, smart with business. Everybody loves him. Oh my God, this guy's the man. He knows how to get money. I'm gonna say the same shit about like running a country, and everyone's like, "Oh, you know, like it doesn't relate."
Now, while that may not be true in all cases, it could still be true.
It could be true.
You could have the biologist
Yeah.
who has a PhD in biology, but on their spare time is an amateur economist as well, right? And they
Just
might know
the
a lot
warning.
about economies.
Just the warning to not take what they say at face value.
Yeah, you got to do your own research.
Do your diligence. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which I feel like I've done with Trump.
Okay.
So that's why I feel like I can be in a position where I can be this devil's advocate.
How about, okay, so when there is rioting in the streets, how should you address that? Should you say continue as everything is going? Should you?
No, what you do is you go and you deploy the police forces, you bring in the National Guard if you have to, you say, "I denounce this violence. Please, guys, I want a country of law and order," which is exactly what he's been saying. "I want a country of law and order, country of peace, country of love."
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is the media goes and spins his words, twists them up,
But what if he just doesn't do that?
takes them out of context, and I feel like what's happening right now is we all consume our media and we just trust it off of face value. We don't dig any deeper. So what we receive is controlled. The information we get is controlled by maybe 2 or 3 companies: Facebook, Google, and I don't know, now there's TikTok or whatever. So there's just 2 companies controlling what information we get. And I guess for our generation, but you know, there's also TV stations, but the TV stations are owned by like maybe 2 or 3 media conglomerates. So it's really 5 companies, 5 entities that are controlling how we get our information, where we get it, how it's presented to us, how long we're going to consume it for. So we're getting very biased information. But if you go straight to the source, if you just view raw footage of him speaking, it gives you a very different picture from what we've all been presented.
I feel like we put way too much importance on the media. We all know that it influences us, and we all know it's biased, but I feel like we're putting way too much emphasis. Like we're icing that bitch up real fucking thick.
I agree.
You know, it's like, yes, the media can influence you, and that's why you got to look at everything with a grain of salt. Even what he's saying, it's really catered. It's already scripted. It's edited multiple times to give you the best fucking image, as every other media source is.
No, what I'm saying is they're scripting it and spinning it into their own narrative
As
to
what
make
he's
it
doing.
seem to make it seem as if he is riling these people up.
Yeah.
And then people get that and they do get riled up.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. Of course they're scripting it that way.
So he's being
But he's scripting his
misrepresented.
own words. Yes, of course. But he's also, okay, he's misrepresenting himself too. Or maybe he's not. But what I'm saying
think he is.
he can. You can buff up yourself. You can say shit about yourself that's not factually true, but makes you look a lot better. And people will like it, you know? That's not to say that he's saying the truth about himself. So he could be construing in a different way. The media could be construing in a different way. Which is why you don't look at the media too heavily. You don't put too much emphasis on it. Like, yeah, they're trying to trick us, for sure. Both sides are trying to trick you. Both sides are trying to eventually get you to say, I'm on your side.
Absolutely.
Right? So don't look at what they say. Don't use the media too much. Look at behavior, right? See the actions, right? If something really terrible is going on in society and certain people are being the first ones to speak out before the president or certain people are condemning certain actions before the president, okay, at least we know one thing. They said it first. They have more of an incentive or a motive or a reason, whatever it is, which made them take action first. So we know that if there's an emergency, this guy, not the president, is going to respond faster. So right there, I'm not going about what you say, I'm going about what you did. You took action first. That's already a plus on not like anyone else that did it before Trump.
I agree with you on that respect.
See,
there's police forces in place that would prevent these riots and stuff. You know,
we need the police.
We don't need to be dependent on the president to say no, don't riot. I mean, that's fucking obvious. But why do you blame Trump for starting those riots? Why don't you blame the individuals?
No, for sure.
Who were part of the riot.
For sure. They
should be blamed.
I guess it's because, okay, yeah, for sure. It's so easy when
hold on. I forgot to mention, they also didn't even riot. They just stormed the Capitol, and it was largely peaceful. I think
they destroyed property.
One woman got shot.
Entered the building without authority. How is that peaceful? Literally, if that happened to your house, if someone had fucking kicked down my door and walked in, I'd be like, the fuck are you doing? And I'd have to defend myself. I'm not letting you come in.
I don't condone that at all.
Okay.
That's bullshit.
If you come into my door, I'm gonna fucking murder you.
But see, what I want to say is...
you're not coming into my house and touching any of my shit or potentially harming any of my family members.
I get that.
You're gonna get fucking whipped.
I get that.
Yeah.
But I want to look at a broader picture here.
Okay.
So, I feel like Trump and his supporters, they're treated like in double standard in a way. They don't get treated by the same measures that the other side gets treated by. I don't know, whatever you want to call them, Democrats, lefties,
for sure,
whatever.
Yeah.
So the protest in front of the White House got this insane media coverage. Everyone was denouncing it. Everyone was saying this is the darkest day in America. They're rioting. They're destroying. I can't believe it's happening. One person died. Should never happen.
Should never happen. Yeah.
You know, God bless that person.
What?
The person that died, right? Like.
God bless that person. That person shouldn't have died, but that person shouldn't have been there.
I guess that's the wrong word. Not God bless them, but like rest their soul, right? They should have never died.
Yeah.
But it was just one person.
Yeah.
And the property damage that was done, maybe it was a few $100s. They kicked down a door. They didn't do much. They didn't light anything on fire. But I just want to say the other side, when Black Lives Matter were going around, rioting in cities that had nothing to do with what was actually happening, like right? Because it all started with what's his name? There was like two or three.
Yeah, two
big things, right?
I'm gonna do such injustice by not saying their names properly. I'm not good with names.
Don't worry, I'm shit with names too.
But we both know what happened. There's been a lot of videos, tons of documentation. Rip to the fact that I can't say a name. I'm not really trying to fucking think of the name, honestly.
We should get notes for this stuff next time.
It's just everybody understands what the fuck happened.
So what I'm saying is there was a problem in one city. The police committed an injustice in one city, and then there were riots in other cities that were totally unrelated. And the way the media covered them was like softballs. They barely covered it, and there was serious damage done. People's businesses got destroyed. Things were set on fire. Cars were like fucking savaged. The whole city was on fire. Yeah. And that coverage?
Yeah.
Nothing. Meanwhile, you have a lawful protest happening in the place where it should be.
Lawful.
It was completely lawful. There
wasn't the breaking and entering of a premises.
It was lawful up until that point.
Okay, so we agree on that point being like.
Yeah, they should have never broken. That was wrong, and there shouldn't have been any violence. But it was, when you put it into perspective, what they did was like 1/1000th of what happened with the whole Black Lives Matter shit. But yet they received 1,000 times the scrutiny and 1,000 times the resentment versus the other one. Like the other one was totally fine. They were like, oh yeah, they're mostly peaceful protests, and there was clearly whole cities burning. Cities that had nothing to do with the original problem.
Yeah.
And then over here you have something that's directly to do with the problem. They're protesting the Electoral College. They're exactly where they should be. They're in the House of Congress. And that one was mostly peaceful. But they called it the worst day in America. So the double standard, the way it's all spun in the media, I find is ridiculously unfair. It makes no sense.
For sure, I agree with you that what was done during the Black Lives Movement, where individuals were destroying property for no fucking reason, just to like let out rage. Most of them weren't even fucking letting out rage. A lot of them just wanted like to ride the hype, and they weren't even doing it for the movement. So for sure, like,
yeah, it's like bad people just hijacked it.
exactly. It's like, oh my god, you guys have a movement, I'm gonna go have some fucking fun. And I can see why people would do that. It's really fun to break shit. But that's bad. That's wrong. In both scenarios.
Yeah.
Like we have to get away. And I feel like this is like, it's such like an infantile thing to do. But we have to get away from this, oh my god, they did this, why can't we do this? Or like, they did it worse, why can't, like, they're getting more. It's like, who the fuck cares? You know, who's worse, who's better? It's like, hey, you're both bad. Let's address both topics. Let's address both problems. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, you broke property. Both you got both. First of all,
yeah, breaking property is wrong.
it's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
It should have never got to that point. Like, what's the benefit from it? There's not. Okay, you're trying to make a statement. You can make a statement without breaking property. So, I think we should step away from that whole like, because they did it, why can't we do it? I feel like that's happening a lot more these days. And it's like, it's kind of like being ingrained in people, especially where like, okay, we dealt with so much like scrutiny and discrimination for so long, with any minority group, which then goes to the majority. It's like, now it's your fucking turn. That's like such a bad mentality.
That's not right.
No, it's not.
You're just continuing the same cycle of pain.
Exactly. And I feel like people are focusing on that, and they're not really allowing to get to the real issue at hand. You know, you got to focus on something completely different. But what was your other argument?
With regards to the whole Trump thing? Also with the election thing. Like, you were saying, oh, all these authorities are saying there was nothing wrong. It's all fine. It's all fine and dandy. And I'm here looking at it from a different perspective, seeing, okay, so there's a pandemic happening right now, and everyone's attention is on the pandemic. So they're all distracted. They're not paying attention. The security might be compromised because there's this giant distraction happening right now. And then on top of that, what they did is they completely subverted tried and true systems, which is voting in person. There's a whole process to it. There's a reason why it works, and I don't want to get into those details now. But
let's say it works.
It works well, and it's worked for hundreds of years without meaningful fraud. There's always going to be some fraud.
A certain level, yeah.
Always, you know. But you can minimize it by being in person, because there's all of these safeguards. There's like chain of custody.
By being in person. So you're saying like that's really a factor?
Yeah, because in person is different. You could see someone committing the crime.
Well, you kind of go into
a
booth, right? That like kind of blocks you from like seeing other people and other people seeing you, so that your vote is confidential.
Yes, but you see the person going into the booth. You know, this is a real person.
They're actually taking.
They're actually voting for this person. Yeah. Their signatures match. Their identities match. It's a real person. And then when you go and you count the votes, you have those poll watchers or poll challengers, one on each side. They're watching you. They're making sure everything matches. What happened here with COVID is, because COVID happened, suddenly there's this large distance. You have to watch from a distance. How am I supposed to see what's happening 12 feet over there? I'm not going to be able to read the signature, make sure it matches. I'm not going to be able to see, you know, are the ballots valid? Are they being counted right? Then there's the whole issue of like the machinery. There's the electronic voting machines and whatnot. So there's problems with those. And there's people that watch that, and there's a whole system of it happening. But then with COVID, that was changed. There's just tons of problems. And then the mail-in ballots, I mean, those are just a disaster waiting to happen. Everyone knows. All the experts know. They've always said for years and years, like, this is the worst way to run an election because there's no accountability. You can't verify identities. You could send out multiple ballots to people, and who knows? And when they send them back to you, like, how can you be sure that they weren't intercepted somewhere in the middle and altered?
For sure.
It's very hard to run.
For sure. There's a lot of problems.
It's very hard to run an election that way.
There's a lot of problems. And those kind of solutions would not have been I think they were already there, right? You could always. I'm not sure. I think you could have always
certain
mailed
states,
in your ballots,
yeah,
right?
certain states had it, but they were experienced with it.
That was always in place, right? Yeah.
It was in place in certain states, but I'm saying states that had never experienced this before ran a giant scale of it. They didn't even try like just a bit. They went full on. We're gonna do millions of these. That's where the fraud could potentially happen. I'm not saying it did. I'm saying it could potentially happen.
No, yeah, and I'm agreeing with you saying that it's flawed and that it's like not perfect system, but we put too much pressure, emphasis on perfection. Like we don't live in a perfect world. We don't have a perfect system, but we're always demanding for it. Like calm the fuck down.
No, I'm not saying demand it. I'm saying
no. I'm saying like people are like that. People are like, we have a shit system. It should be perfect. Like chill. We gotta work at it slowly.
Okay. But what I'm trying to say is you minimize those errors. You know you're never gonna get to zero.
You have a limit. You have a very limited time frame to make the most of your options, right? There's an election coming. You're in a pandemic. The concern, superficially maybe because like it doesn't seem genuine, is the health of the people.
I know we want more people to vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean you compromise the voting system.
Fuck getting more people to vote. Fuck getting more people to vote. I don't care. No.
Let's zoom out a bit. Let's look at the big picture. Mm-hmm. There could have been massive fraud because all of these new systems were put in place where these people weren't trained. They didn't have the experience of doing it, and it's just known that this kind of system is more easy to be exploited. You have more potential for fraud. I don't know if it really happened, but people were upset and they wanted to dig and get to the bottom of it, verify it.
And it was verified. It was proven that it wasn't like there was no fraud.
Never.
By multiple resources.
Not once. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Not one court has seen a single case. What they have done is they've thrown them out. Not one court,
but like other
technicalities.
Other agencies have reviewed it. There have been review boards, which are reviewed like the ballots, the process.
Well, of course, Well, hold on. So the people that designed this new system of election then review themselves and say there was no problem with it. So if they were corrupt, they would then review themselves and say there was no wrongdoing. You need an external, impartial jury or justice or whoever to then review it. That's what the court system's for. And in every single case, I don't know of a single case, maybe there was one, but I don't know of a single case where it actually did go to trial. Mm-hmm. And get seen through the proper justice system. All of them got rejected on technicalities.
Yeah.
And then the media spun that and said, oh, they all lost in court. They didn't lose in court. Not a single case was seen.
Okay, wait.
No evidence was presented in front of a court. Not yet, at least.
It's really hard to stand by an opinion when you don't have all the facts. So you have to be a little generous with what someone is saying. So I'm assuming that the ballots were reviewed multiple times by hopefully multiple agencies, maybe not.
But if they're reviewed by the same corrupt individuals,
I get that. Yeah, of course.
Your results are garbage.
You're assuming
it's meaningless.
You're assuming that there's corruption because there's possible corruption, but there's corruption everywhere. So who gives a fuck? You're saying because the system is flawed, like...
But the system wasn't flawed. What I'm saying is for hundreds of years...
The system has always been flawed.
The system worked, and then we...
The system's always been flawed. It's always been flawed. It's always been flawed.
It's been flawed, but the flaws were kept to a minimum where it wasn't meaningful enough to change elections.
And now because
the elections were mostly fair.
A natural disaster, or now because of something that's hitting home really hard.
But this isn't excuse making such drastic changes.
Of course, it's not gonna excuse, but you got to do what you can in the limited amount of time. But wait! I just want to run through an argument.
All right.
So you're saying because there's a problem, we should just scrap the bitch? Like we shouldn't because there's a problem, which has equality in a sense. Like, okay, yes, there could be fraud, but there could be fraud for both sides.
I'll get to the solutions later.
We live in like a flawed system, but we make the most out of that system. And then we get results from that system, and these results aren't permanent. You're gonna have another election in 4 years, and if you're really so hell bent on this, why don't you?
Here's where I really want to hit a point home.
Okay.
This is the big picture thing that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
If this election was stolen and it was fraudulent, all it takes is one bad election and you will never have a good election again.
Which is what the fuck is happening right now. Wait, sorry. Say that one more time.
If you have one fraudulent election,
Yeah?
it will be nearly impossible to have a good election after that. Because once you...
Because you're basically cracking the integrity of democracy.
Once you steal that election...
Which is essentially also the same as what is going on right now, which is like accusing... Let's say there isn't fraud. And you're accusing fraud. So you're implementing deceit. You're implementing a crack. You can break apart democracy without there being fraud.
Not necessarily. I'll get to that point, though. What I'm saying is there's three pillars to my argument here. So I'll start with one. One, if you have that fraudulent election, you take the power, you're the ones who are corrupt, you can then change laws to make it impossible to have another proper election so that it's always rigged going forward and so that you always win. Just like a Putin. He seems to always win elections. Once you're in, you never leave. You change the laws, you make it impossible to have a good election. So that's pillar one. Number two, you're saying, well, if you accuse someone of having election fraud or of committing election fraud, you sow doubt, you make it so that, you're kind of splitting trust and whatnot. Yeah, but that's what the court systems are for. So this is the solution I want to talk about. You take it to court, you present the evidence in an impartial manner to somebody who is objective. You're not presenting the evidence to the people that designed the election, because they're obviously going to say, oh, we designed it well. The incentives are there for them to just say, no, everything's fine. You bring it to somebody else. The court systems, that's what they're for. And you dig. You make sure you go through all the options to prove that they're fine. And if you really do believe that there was no fraud, what are you afraid of? Bring it to court, defend yourself. You'll have an easy time throwing out all of these false allegations. But if they were real...
Is that your second pillar?
That's my second pillar. Here's my third pillar. If they were real, if all of these allegations were real, and you're pressing to have them seen, to have them made public, so we could potentially fix all of this, and the other side, who is corrupt, is denying it, and they're saying, no, everything's fine. Mm-hmm. That's a bit sketchy. Let's even assume...
But what you're asking for, I'm sorry to cut you off, what you're asking for is being played out.
But it was blocked. It wasn't played out.
By judges who
may also be in on the game, in the corruption.
Okay, but it's
a big conspiracy, I get it.
It's not even a big conspiracy. It's kind of like a waste of effort, time, and energy to just like constantly go on about how like things might be broken, things might be wrong, things might be like full of like power and like mistrust and like fucking fraud. It's like, okay, so what's the solution? What, like, instead of like bickering about the problem, why don't we try to figure out
the solution,
a possibility? But it's just like you could implement. It's like, what? Okay, you're thinking about a world where all this is possible. Mm-hmm. Are you also imagining a world where all this isn't possible, where actually there was no corruption, or like things are actually being run properly?
I understand that's possible. That's why I said
all of these judges
present it. Present the evidence. Let there be justice. Mm-hmm. Let them make a judgment.
You don't have to consider every single opposition just because somebody wants to.
But look at what's at stake. You can potentially never have a proper election again, have an illegitimate government.
I think, yeah.
That then becomes totalitarian.
Trump just showed. He just set the example of whether there is fraud or not. If I think that there's fraud, I can press it really hard.
As you should.
And I can...
What he did was completely legal. He followed every single law.
Okay, we all understand that, unfortunately. Like,
and those laws are in place because the founding fathers knew that there's going to be
everything's broken. We are under the understanding that everything's broken, nothing is perfect. So there will be mistakes all around. But yes, laws are good, but not every law is good. And we have seen that the rich can find loopholes for certain laws, which allows access to generating more and more wealth, which the middle class and the lower class don't have access to. So they find it unfair.
Well, now it's even worse because the rich literally get to write the laws.
Yeah,
they go and they lobby government and they write their own laws.
There's a problem. There's definitely a problem. But essentially what Trump is doing is he's showing how anyone after him can disagree with what's going on.
That's a good thing. I think that's a great thing. You should be able to challenge that.
You should.
And then if it really is all lawful and everything is fine, you'll have no problem defending it.
You should, and he is. But the problem with what you're saying is, if he doesn't get what he wants, you always have that backup argument saying corruption. If he doesn't get what he wants. Like, if he gets what he wants, you're like, the legal system played out perfectly.
Yeah.
What he wanted happened. So, like, if you're always having this stick up your ass, you could always pull out and be like, corruption. It's like, come on, bro. You're not even trying to address the problem here.
Well, here's how you solve the problem. It's so simple.
Every other president can now do this. You can now question it's like first of all, yes, exactly. They always could. But every president was like, okay, I'm gonna take this L. Everyone that lost, every president candidate that lost, I'm gonna take this L.
That's because there most likely wasn't enough fraud for it to be meaningful. Mm-hmm. Now there's mountains of evidence.
Yeah, but you have to be like, okay,
showing that there was
something
fraud.
Happened because of the times. It wasn't like, oh, now the whole fucking system's poor and we gotta fucking fix it. And
well, that's what happened.
Yeah,
the system
because we're not taking
changed.
Because of the times. Like, if we didn't have this pandemic, everything would have went afloat.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And this could have still happened.
The pandemic was the perfect time.
This could have still happened where we had the
change.
regular election, and at the end when Trump lost, because the pandemic came closer to the end of his presidency. So many people were already upset.
Yeah.
Over 4 years, people were already changing sides, whether for or against, right? This result might have already happened, which most likely would have happened. Oftentimes, correct me if I'm wrong, but like one person gets elected, and then the next term the opposite gets elected. Oh, we wanted this guy, but fuck it, he didn't bring what we wanted, so now we want this guy. It's a pendulum fucking swing.
Yeah.
So it would have been Trump's turn to step off, right? And goes to the next side. Possibly, I don't know.
Don't know.
But now let's run a scenario where the pandemic didn't happen. He lost the election, and he's like, fuck this. Fraud.
That would be a different scenario. But
different
even
scenario
if he did that,
with the times.
But even if he did that, I don't mind that. I think that's a good thing. You fight, you challenge, as far as you're legally allowed to go.
Which he's doing.
As far as you're legally allowed to go.
And then judges that he's appointed these individuals. He's like, you're gonna be the guy.
Look, I don't know why.
And then these guys, whoa, they have.
It's a simple solution though, bro.
How can you say like, okay, I'm gonna employ you, so I will possibly be the one corrupting you, but I'm taking the corruption out of it. I don't really care. So now this case is presented to this person. It's like, do you want to deal with this? And the person's like, you know what? I don't think that this is necessary. I'm going off of my expert opinion on a law, which I'm based on. No. Of course there could be corruption. But he did.
Why not investigate it then? That's what I'm saying. The solution is simple.
Because not everything needs to be like.
It does need to be
like,
investigated.
I'm sorry, but like,
because look what's at stake.
Oh man, that's such a shit argument. Like it's like
try and see it from the other side.
Every accusation doesn't need to be investigated just because there's an accusation. There has to be proof. And the proof that Trump has built up isn't really sound. Not sound, but it doesn't give enough weight. He's accusing.
You should investigate.
If there's 7 million individuals that wanted one person more over the other, and Trump is arguing, saying like, there's a few 100,000 ballots that came out of nowhere. It's like, okay, you get your win, right? Maybe that was fake. That's a few 100,000. So let's
investigate it.
So let's reduce 1 million.
Let's investigate it.
Okay. Well, then we'll investigate it. And
that's like seeing 5 dead bodies and then saying, "Oh, it's okay. I don't think anyone was murdered here." We'll investigate it, and then the judge says,
"So yeah,
I'm not going to see the case."
We'll give you your win. We'll investigate it. But while we investigate it, how about we transition? You can't just pause You can't just pause. There's no pause button.
That's why the investigation should have happened earlier. Now it's really, really late to
Well,
do
shoulda,
this.
woulda, coulda. We don't really give a fuck about
I
that. We're in
understand.
the
So
present.
moving forward now,
Let's
it's
let
pretty
it
mu-
happen. Let's
it's
let it
pretty
happen.
much over.
But
If there was a murder with those 5 bodies, they just got away with it because the investigation's done.
what are you saying?
It's
What
never
are you
gonna
saying?
happen.
What are you saying? Okay, wait. Are you being like a victim here? Or like, are you portraying this victim mentality because I didn't get what I wanted in that instance?
No.
Now it's too late. No matter what happens, it's not going to be the same. Like, okay,
I would accept.
Like, are we living?
I would accept a fair election,
Which
but
presumably
prove
we
to me
had.
it's fair. Prove to me it's fair.
Oh,
I see no proof that it's fair. No proof. It hasn't been investigated. Like I said, my third pillar of my argument, that denial and saying, nah, we're not going to look into it. That's very suspicious. Very suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Look
I
into
feel
it.
like
If you're so confident that it was really fine, you would have no problem proving it. No problem disputing all these false allegations.
it's easy to say
No
that.
problem.
It's easy to say that when you have unlimited time and resources. But we're not living in a world with unlimited time and resources.
But look what's at stake.
Okay.
It's the fucking election.
Yeah.
The thing that's going to control our lives.
Which presumably, like of course, there's incentive for the loser to complain about the results. Of course, you lost.
But
right?
he's not complaining about the results.
He's complaining.
He is challenging
He is
the
complaining about the
legitimacy.
results.
Okay,
Challenging
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
He's complaining about the results. He's like, there was fraud, this election was stolen.
Okay.
Guys, we have to make sure this election wasn't stolen.
So you wanna, cause like, I guess.
And it's not just him. Millions of people believe this.
All right.
Millions of people.
The election might be fucked. We'll give you that.
But
because
no, I don't know. I want to know.
See what
Ask
is
the
happening?
questions.
What is happening is like, yeah, but like, ask the questions.
You're saying don't ask the questions.
No, I'm not
because
saying
by,
don't ask the
by
questions.
asking
I've
the questions
agreed with
is so doubt.
everything you've said, and I'm saying like you don't really need to, but fuck it. Let's give everything you want. Let's give the victim childlike mentality of like I didn't get what I want, so everything has to be like corrupt, or there has to be something wrong because I didn't win. So yeah, we'll give you everything, and we'll let it hell happen.
I don't consider that childlike.
It's because wait, let me finish.
Context.
It's
There's
because
context to it.
you're slowing down a process of helping society, helping the individuals, because okay, we don't know who's at the top, right? Like the top is not more important than every single individual.
But the top
society.
has all the power.
Of course,
right
so
which it shouldn't, because originally America was designed where the top has the
you're
least
saying
power,
it shouldn't.
and as
you're
it
speaking,
trickles
you're
down.
speaking in ideals. Let's get away from
But
ideals.
that's how it originally was.
Yeah,
right
but
now,
who cares? Who
I
cares?
understand. Now the top has all the power.
This is what I'm saying. Like
So
you
this
can't,
is why
you
it's
can't
the most important
assess
election.
an argument properly when you bring in shouldas. It should be like this because we're talking about reality.
right.
We're not talking about
So let's forget about
shoulda.
it.
We're not talking about the past because the past isn't in the present. Of course,
We
that
could forget
happened.
about that. There's
So,
context,
yeah.
but let's forget
there
about
is context, but at a certain point, it's like you guys, your focus is so spread out that you're not really analyzing anything with like a narrow lens, which is not allowing anything to be solved. So what I'm saying is you're dealing with a pandemic that is causing the decline in health and the decline in economy. Those are the two most major issues.
Mhm.
Okay, political debate and like problems with the law and the government, that shit has been happening for centuries, right? That is an ongoing problem. So let's address that problem very seriously. But the main topic, the main issue at hand is not the power. It is the people and it is the economy. So
Well, who gets to decide how you fix the pandemic?
everyone puts aside this being the main topic. It is still a topic and it should still be addressed ongoing. But now everyone changes the ideal.
I agree with you.
And it's like, okay, we need to make a decision that will help the economy and help the people. That's the main priority. That's the focus.
Exactly, I agree with
Yeah.
you. These are the main problems: economy, pandemic. How do we fix them?
Mm-hmm.
Who gets to decide how it's fixed?
Everyone that's involved comes to a decision. They all talk
How
about
do they
it.
do that?
Oh my God! See, when you keep
Democratically through an election, no? You elect someone who's
No.
going to lead you through it.
No. That has happened.
But
And
that's
then-
where all the power
Okay,
is.
wait.
You can't decide on your own.
You can complain at every step as a child would. I'm not
Okay,
saying
bro.
you're a child. I'm not saying you're a child.
I
but
understand that.
This is.
Wait, you're losing me here.
Okay.
You're losing me. Let's back it down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We just agreed. All the power is at the top right now. And now you're saying, well, we decide on an individual basis. But the individuals have no more power. The power's at the top. It's whoever's in charge that gets to decide now.
It is very easy.
But we still get to elect that person.
It is so
that's our way of deciding.
We are taking the easy path of complaining. It's very easy to complain. It's very easy to not make progress by taking a step backwards. Who decides? We have an election. Then we have a result. That is what you want, right? So then the next step forward is to address the pandemic and the economy. But you could take a step backwards and say there was a faulty election. There was fraud. Holy fuck, we just took a step backwards. Okay, let's fix the election again. Instead of making that step forward.
Let me tell you something.
Which is the pandemic, which is the economy. Say your
okay,
point.
okay. I gotta say my piece here. So, I'm not saying this happened. I'm saying theoretically, for theoretical sake, a malicious actor steals the election, they rig it, they win it for themselves. You know they're not going to be a good person right off the bat. Now they're in charge of making decisions about how to fix the pandemic and how to fix the economy. Well, now they're going to make wrong decisions because they got in illegitimately. They cheated their way in. How do you know they're going to make good decisions on your behalf? Most likely they're going to make selfish decisions that end up benefiting themselves at the expense of others. So they'll end up making the problem worse. This is all theoretical, right? But what if it wasn't theoretical? What if that's actually what happened?
That's good. That's good.
What if that actually happened?
That's good.
So you're saying, oh, it's okay, forget about it, let's move forward. But if you truly believe that in doing so, things are just going to end up getting worse, you're going to want to backtrack and fix the election so that you can legitimately elect someone that's going to represent you properly and make good decisions.
And how do you do that?
That end up fixing things instead of making them worse.
By moving forward and like, okay, there's a problem here, let's fix it. We move forward. There's a problem here, let's fix it. We move forward. You don't stop, move backwards, and readdress the whole issue again. It's like, that doesn't solve it.
Okay, so...
And first, wait, let's go back to the theoretical aspect of it. Yeah, that's a theory. That's a possibility, but that's just a theory, right? It's just a thought. It's a question. And when you look into questions too long, they get more and more like plausible possibilities. And holy fuck, it's like more and more possible. So yeah, this might be actually something that happens. You could create something from nothing, which is what you just did. Completely possible.
Well, look what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're having a debate, a discussion.
So then
we're fleshing
so
through.
then there's a problem, right?
We didn't just say,
wait.
Fuck you. I don't believe you. And I leave. No, we're working it out.
Yeah. But instead of making a step backwards, let's make a step forwards. So we're not prolonging the suffering, prolonging the poor effects. What you said could have happened. Definitely could have. And this possibility could have happened for either side. We don't know.
I don't know. What I'm saying is...
But we have to run with that thought. What
we're doing here, give it the same kind of energy to what happened over there. Scrutinize it. Make sure.
I'm saying both sides. I'm not on a side. I don't give a fuck about a side. Like, in this conversation, I'm saying, that what you just said could have happened to both sides. So let's say it happens to the red and let's say it happens to the blue. We'll follow both paths, right? It happens. So now the blue is corrupt and they won. The red is corrupt. They won. There's a corrupt system in place for sure. But instead of like going backwards and being like, let's pause everything that just happened, let's figure this out and then move forward. It's like, no. Okay, we have two leaders now from two corrupt systems. We're not happy.
Either one's a bad choice.
Either one's a bad choice, but we have to move forward. So we know the problems. So what we can do is the next time we have an election, we address these problems and we fix these areas. In some ways, not all of them, because it's not possible, but we'll chip at them slowly, carve it out, make it a little bit better, so that the next time there's at least a safeguard. Like, okay, the ballots, the online ballots weren't good, or maybe they were compromised, the next election will have like systems better placed to secure them, or maybe we'll remove them. We implemented something and it didn't work out, so the next time that'll have a corrected area. You're moving forward, right? Regardless of who won, the main focus of attention should still reside on the health of the people and the economy, regardless of which corrupted party won.
Yo,
so it's like,
I believe you so hard with that.
Yeah.
But this goes back to my original point. There is a point of no return. Once you cross that line, if an
there is
entity,
a point of no return.
If they gather too much power, they become a cancer. They just start growing out of control. They consume all the power. What you're saying makes complete sense. Oh, it didn't work? Sure, let's fix it for next one. How do you know it didn't work? You go and you scrutinize it. You put it through court. You debate it.
That's why you do it at the same time.
And that's not happening right now.
It is happening.
But it's not.
Okay, like, let's go back to my thought experiment, right? Blue wins, red wins. Right now, we're in blue wins, so red is like fighting back, right? Same thing would have happened. Red wins, blue would be fighting back. In the same scenario, right? So they're both getting the same challenges.
Yeah.
Let that happen. That would happen in both scenarios. Like, so like, what you want is still happening. There's still confrontation. You will always get confrontation. Just because one side says like, this didn't work out, we should have it done this way, won't always get their way. It doesn't even matter which side, red, blue. Continue that. Figure that out as it's going right now, as it's panning out, because this is reality. What's the point of no return? We live during a time that's constantly flowing. We can never go back. So the point of no return just happened. We have no idea. We can never go back.
I see.
Right? So why are you like instead of trying to figure out when was it or when is it coming? It's like, this is what's happening right now. Let's continue going on with what's happening right now. Maybe it's too late. Maybe we already lost. But let's take the step forward to fix it so that we don't continue losing. That's what I'm saying. People at this state in general are very upset with a lot of things. And because you're very upset with a lot of things, it's very easy to question and to be angry and say like, there's a problem here, and we got to fix it. But a lot of it's like, there's problem. There's no like solution. And like the solution that is presented is like a grand solution that's going to fix all our problems. And like, that's just bullshit. There's never been a grand solution that will solve all your problems. You can solve little problems, chip away at little things, and eventually you'll get a better structure. That's what we could do. We could take little steps. We can't fix the whole thing in a night. We can't tear down something and then rebuild it from scratch. We built this already. People before us had an idea, probably the same idea we would have once we take away everything else, maybe just a little bit more polished. But they had an idea and they implemented it. And then maybe they didn't chip at it. So over time it got corrupted. That's where we come in and we're like, okay, we messed up, so now it's our turn to chip at it, not to just completely fuck it over, right? Not to just completely destroy and switch ideologies or
so I definitely
political affiliations.
Definitely agree with your point there.
Yeah.
Where it's like constant building and it's slow. It takes a long time. You can't just insta solution,
Yeah, because I just want to say one last thing.
I'm a critic.
Let me just say one last thing. Sorry, I don't want to seem too much on one side or the other. I know that it clearly seems like that, but I want to be able to be like, this could happen on both sides. So this reaction would have been normal on both sides, whether red or blue won.
Yeah.
So, assuming that it could happen.
Either side would have contested the election.
Yeah, and I'm saying like, if red won and all the blues were complaining, it's like, I'm still saying that's childish. That's still a childish behavior. That's still like not progressive. You're making it backwards, because all you're doing is like being angry, not producing anything constructive. And you're pointing to a problem like children do. I don't like this. I don't like this.
I think you're overgeneralizing.
Okay.
There's definitely some people that do behave that way, but there are some people that I could personally relate to that are critics. They're gonna criticize. They're gonna challenge it, not because they're butthurt that they lost.
Gang.
Has your car been on this whole time?
Yeah, fam.
Fuck. Just blowing through gas, man.
Oh, yeah, I guess. I like the heat. I'm sorry. You want me to turn it off?
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
It's very comfortable in here. It's much nicer than out there in the cold.
It's kind of cold. That's why I have it on. I apologize.
But yeah. So, like, people are critical thinkers, and they're going to criticize, they're going to challenge, and it's not because they're butthurt and they're childish.
No.
So you can't overgeneralize.
No. I think you guys are very necessary. I'm like the same. I'm very like critical about certain things, and I voice my opinion. I voice my questions. But like you said, like not everyone's like that. There's like another group of people that could be like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been, I think you could agree with me, a small group of people that had the intellectual capability of criticizing something and questioning it.
I don't think it's such a small group of people.
In the past?
I think it's most people.
Everybody has the ability to question anything, for sure. That's what we're seeing right now. Everyone has the ability to question and make their voice heard. That's why everything's gone to shit, because we're listening to everybody. But there's a very few amount of people that can look at something, question it on both sides, being unbiased to the extent that they can be, and question it on both sides. And question it in a sense that they don't break things at the same time that they're thinking. We have a lot of people that are breaking things at the same time that they're thinking.
What do you mean by break things? As you like break your mind, or break physical things?
Break physical things, or cause confrontation. That's a very broad statement.
Well, we had a confrontation, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah, bro, I liked it. Like I like it. I got heated, which is a good thing. You could get heated, but like, I think we could both tell, like, never at any moment did we want to physically harm each other.
Yeah.
Or at any moment did we verbally want to abuse the other person or something like that. Like, it was just an opinion, and we both knew it was an opinion, right? And that's that we're critical thinkers, and we're critically analyzing this, but we're keeping our emotions and our desires kind of at bay. A lot of individuals right now who are protesting aren't doing that. They're lashing out. They're being very aggressive. You could be very critical and question things like, why aren't these things being seen? You know, why aren't we looking through all the reports? You know, taking it step by step. Because in a perfect world, we would. If we had all the time and the resources, we should. But that's not how we're presenting it, or that's not how other people are presenting it. They're presenting it with a very
see, but I would argue
on-edge tone.
We do have the time and the resources. We did. We spent a lot of time going through all this evidence.
But there were reports,
but then it was just
there?
rejected on no, I feel like I just said the wrong thing. We spent a lot of time and resources gathering the evidence, but then it was never given the time of day to be seen.
But it was reviewed, wasn't it? Like, didn't it go through a review board?
It never went through the courts.
There's so many names, and there's so many political...
It never went through the courts. It did go to certain Senate hearings. Like, I did watch some of the Senate hearings where the evidence was presented to senators. And ultimately, that's what's going to make the difference, because it's the senators of the individual states that write their election laws. Because the U.S. has a very unique way of running elections. It's like the only place in the world that runs it that way, as far as I know. They don't have a federal election. What they have is 51 separate elections. Each state runs their own election, and they elect the president for all of them. So each state gets to run it their own way. So if you do want to make a change, you got to change each and every single state individually.
Yeah.
But what happened was, there was a few states in question that seemed to sort of collude, and they changed their elections very drastically due to COVID. And it created the potential for a lot of fraud. And then when those things went to court, they just weren't seen. And that's all we're asking for. You see, you're talking about people that break things when they think. The way I see it is, I don't want to pick a side, but it's just, I can't help but pick a side, because one side is very clearly breaking things as they think. And that's the side that is also saying there was nothing wrong with the elections. Whereas the other side, the side I tend to agree with now. Again, I don't like picking sides, but I just can't help it. Because
we naturally pick sides. We naturally pick sides. There's nothing wrong with that.
And so the side I tend to pick right now, they're the side that are doing the questioning, and they're not breaking things. They're very rational, and they're challenging.
Some people aren't breaking
and
things.
Then they get accused by the mass media as being the ones that are breaking ones. So the whole thing is being flipped. It's like I'm living in this mirror world, and it makes no sense to me.
The people who are questioning, some of them aren't breaking things, and some of them are breaking things. Right? Because you have protesters breaking things.
I'm generalizing, but those protesters that break things are
still part of the group, even though they're not the main group.
Almost entirely Democrats or Democratic. They're part of that side of the aisle.
The Trump supporters that are...
The Trump supporters don't break things.
Which we just saw on Parliament Hill. What was that?
Those were Trump supporters, and that was the very first time I've ever seen them break things.
So I'm condoning... No, I'm not condoning. My bad. Any kind of violence on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So both sides, bad, condemned. So what the Trump supporters did should not have happened. You could have your critical thinking, but don't do that shit again. So they should be like penalized in a certain extent.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
That shouldn't be repeated.
There's law and order. There's justice. When you fuck up, you reap your consequences.
Okay, so now moving forward from that, what should we do? Because I feel like we're focusing...
Again, moving forward, what should we do? We should have the evidence seen in courts. It's not enough just to present it in front of the Senate, because the Senate could just block their ears and say, nothing happened. But if you do it through the courts, then there's a compulsion to it, the courts...
It's being forced. You have to look at this, for sure. But that's why I'm saying it's a step backwards. Or it's not a step backwards.
That's not a step backwards.
No.
To me, that's a step forward.
It's a standstill. You're standing in the same spot. Because now you're not addressing the next topic. Okay, and I'm not saying...
After the courts see it, obviously you move on.
I'm saying that should be the minor issue. We're focusing way too much on that issue. And we're not focusing on the current... implications of a broken economy and
But again, my stance is because we have now passed this line of no return, we gave all the power to one entity, central government,
which we passed centuries ago.
I wouldn't say centuries ago. I'd say it's been kind of gradual. Maybe it happened in the 50s or
there is no
it wasn't clear when it happened.
But it already happened.
Yeah, it already
Regardless,
happened.
the second corruption is let in, it's okay, now there's a potential for greater corruption.
So what I'm saying is, because that happened, that is why we're experiencing all these problems in our economy.
Yeah.
Because we're not free enough to let it play itself out regulate itself.
So should we now, because of this, not look towards people who are suffering and people who are losing their jobs? Is that not... that is definitely an issue. Yeah.
Yes, we should deal with those things.
Shouldn't those take precedent?
But we should not keep perpetuating the problem. We shouldn't. We have brought these problems on ourselves.
Yeah.
They didn't just magically appear. We made them.
Mm-hmm.
We are responsible.
Mm-hmm. So we fix them slowly.
Or
we fix them
we cannot keep making it worse.
No, I agree with you.
I would say the first step is not to try fixing it, but to stop making it worse. Stop fucking up.
Yeah, but how do you stop? That just breeds more questions. How are we making it worse?
Okay. I'll use an analogy. You're a heroin addict. How do you get healthy? You can go on runs, you could start working out, you could start talking to people, socializing, but if you continue taking heroin, you're going to keep getting worse. You first have to stop taking heroin.
Yeah, but do you know how to stop?
That's the tough part.
It's very easy. It's an incremental slowing down of the dose.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting accustomed to living a life with a smaller high. You don't just take it away. You take
Some people go cold turkey.
Nah, bro. If we're talking about heroin,
you could die.
Of course, a small minority of people can survive that cold turkey. It's not recommended. It's not recommended because on average it wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to do, and this has and this happens to a lot of addictions, is that you don't completely remove the substance right away because you're essentially fucking shattering their world. Like, you know how hard it is to go from having something to not having something?
Yeah.
It's completely, like, it's oh my God, it's so painful. Like, speaking from experience. And, like, my shit wasn't even close to heroin, right? You ease them off slowly, step by step. You chip at the problem, which is what I'm saying. You take a step forward, you chip at it slowly.
I feel you,
You
man.
don't just take it away. And in the case of the presidency and the problems, you chip at it slowly. Like what Trump is doing, continue doing it. But at the same time, to make the steps forward, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do the transition of power peacefully. I'm gonna facilitate the next president's entry, because while it might be corrupt, I'm still gonna do what the other guy should have done if I won. Right? If it was in a reverse role.
Which, funnily enough, is exactly what's happening right now. You see, everyone hates on Trump. They say he's a dictator. He's moving on.
I'm not saying what he's doing is not the wrong thing, but we're passing over the fact that he's not also doing the right thing. He's taking a long time, a lot longer of a time.
Everything he did was legal. That's what I find so
Yeah, but just because it's
surprising.
legal doesn't mean it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing the bare minimum.
But to me,
we're focusing.
That's
we're
a
not,
big surprise.
We're not.
Because look,
focusing
every
on
other
everything.
president that I've known in my lifetime that I've been alive, and we haven't been alive that long.
Yeah.
Bush, Obama.
Yeah.
They did a lot of illegal things.
Yeah.
Trump is the first president I know of that, as far as I could tell, hasn't broken a single law.
Wait.
So this is me saying we are now stopping the heroin.
Are we talking? Are we bringing up facts about presidents that are no longer presidents? So obviously we've had time to really figure out.
But again,
because that's an inflated argument.
I'm using the heroin
Yeah.
addict thing. We have been on heroin for a long time.
So yeah.
We're trying to get off.
Mhm.
We gotta stop it.
Mhm.
That is the first step to making it better. It's gonna hurt. That's another thing I didn't even get to.
But
what you got to it. When you stop, it's gonna be painful, but you have to have the courage and the perseverance to say it's worth it. Once I get over this hump, it's going to be okay. And we are experiencing these problems in society right now, and we're pussying out. We're going straight back to the heroin.
I don't think so. I think
We'll have it easy.
I think what you said is it's true. You know, we should have the strength to stand up and be like, this is a problem, we have to stop. Everybody's saying that. We're at that step. We're not making the next step, which is how are we gonna stop the things that we're not chipping away now.
But we're not there yet. We're not at the point where you're going on walks, getting sunshine, working out,
but
getting healthy.
You're still getting the heroin.
We're stopping the heroin.
We're
right
not.
now.
You don't stop the heroin, because we just said that you can't stop it. You need to slow it down.
Yeah, you can't stop it cold turkey. You gotta slow it down.
So we keep the government.
But as you slow
in
down,
its full form,
you don't relapse.
No, yeah, you don't relapse. But we haven't relapsed. We're at the point. We're at the initial stage.
I feel like we are.
How can we relapse when we're at the initial stage, saying that there's a problem? First step to recovery or to healing is noticing that there's a problem. You're saying we're at that problem. We haven't been able to make progress and then relapse back. That because you're saying that we're still at this problem state.
We're going back.
How are we going back?
So allow me to follow with this metaphor.
Yes.
Trump, complete outsider. He's the first president I know of that hasn't broken any laws.
Mm-hmm.
This is getting off the heroin. Now we're relapsing. We just voted for a guy who's been in government.
We didn't get off the heroin. Don't say that we got off the heroin just because a new guy came in.
We're getting off the heroin.
We didn't even start to get off the heroin.
We're not there yet.
The problem is,
but we were on the way. And now we just voted back in a guy who's been in government for a very long time.
We weren't anywhere. No, you can't say we.
Same old, same old.
Nothing changed with the structure of how we vote and how policies are made and the government and how it's run. Nothing changed by adding a new guy into the office.
It will change.
It
did change.
But that's not saying
it did change. Because like I said, there was drastic
change
change
in the way that any
COVID.
other person that comes into an office produces different effects. But not the whole structure, the whole foundation, the whole like heroin was not changed. It was still administered at normal speed.
We were chipping away at it, though.
There was no chipping away at it.
We were.
How are you saying that there's a chipping away at it when you just voted a different president? It's not like, okay, we're going to have two presidents, which is like changing the structure. We're not going to have a president, which is changing the structure. We're going to have a completely different party would slightly change the structure, which still wouldn't, because those parties are still represented.
Look,
there's still possibilities.
Trump marked a change. That was the change where, in my metaphor, we start chipping away, we start easing off the heroin.
What change was it?
Well, the change was he was the outsider, and he was doing things that was unheard of for most politicians, because he wasn't a politician.
Can I?
He was special.
Wasn't there already
And now,
a guy that came in with a business that wanted to be a politician?
Well, I guess Reagan.
No, the guy that went against
Jimmy Carter?
The guy that went against
He was a peanut farmer.
fucking Obama.
Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Is he a politician or is he a businessman?
I think he was in politics before that, because he was already a senator.
But he was primarily a businessman. That was his main
I guess before he
him.
became a senator, he was a businessman.
So we got a mini Trump before Trump.
But he didn't get voted in. He lost.
Yeah, he lost. Just like how
He became a senator.
Okay, yeah, but we had that potential new thing, which is what you're saying. Trump is that new thing. We had that already, and he lost.
Well,
and now we had it again, but he won.
It kind of started. That was like the precursor. But Obama
we had a
still made it in.
non-politician come in.
He was a politician.
Run an attempt.
Romney was a politician. Trump has never seen any kind of politics in his life, and then he immediately became president.
Okay.
That was brand new, never before seen.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was us starting the process of getting off of this hyper politicization of everything back into just free life where you're not addicted to these negative habits.
Okay.
And then what we did is we said, oh, that's too much. I want to go back to normalcy. Let's vote for a normal politician again. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. We'll see how it plays out. I don't want to make a judgment too early yet. You know, some heroin addicts do relapse, and then that's the key that gets them through to the next step afterwards. Because it's that relapse, how shitty it is. Then they see it. Sometimes you need the relapse to see it. See what I mean?
It's okay, but I don't. Trump was an anomaly, we could say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an anomaly doesn't exactly mean a change in trajectory, a change in direction. It's an anomaly because it happened once. If it happens more times, then that's something worth taking note of. Like, okay, like, we have 5 people that are not in a political party that come out of nowhere, become president. Now we have data to look at. Okay, these people that weren't in political parties produced this result.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of individuals will most likely produce this kind of change within the system. That's it. That's diverging. Right now we just have an anomaly. We can't say that possibly was a change. It was just something that happened.
It happened,
we can't
but
put
there
too
were
much.
so many things that were different with it.
Of course, because that was completely different.
So
That's an anomaly.
a change.
That's an anomaly.
But that's a change.
But that's okay. But like, if we look at a chart, right? If we look at a chart with a bunch of dots plotted on the chart, like a scatter plot chart. What the fuck is it called? Scatter chart. Scatter plot chart. Give me the fucking words for
Scatter plot chart.
If we have an anomaly somewhere, the average line is still the same. It didn't change, right? That is what we have right now. If we have tons of anomalies, let's say the dots are all here, so the line's here, and then we have an anomaly there, but the line is still there. It's not skewed. But now we have a ton of like other dots up top, so now the line's like skewed upwards. That's a change, right? We're not witnessing that right now. It's too early to say. I'm not saying that like it doesn't produce something. I'm saying it's too early to say. We put so much weight on things that like 50 years from now, like we'll be able to analyze it properly, and we'll be able to look at it with an unbiased lens. But right now, because we're living in it, it's very biased. It's very heated. We're not calm. You know when like when you look at a problem when you're calm and when you look at a problem when you're angry.
Yeah.
You see things differently. And when you're in it, you don't see certain things and you don't see certain obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like fucking bulldoze right through it. But when you're looking at it from like an outsider's perspective, not an outsider's perspective, but when you're just looking at it from like a different state of mind, like a calm state of mind, just like the outside in kind of, I guess.
It's almost like it's a completely different problem.
It is. It's more open, I would say.
No, it's the same problem. You're just viewing it differently.
Yeah, I mean like how you see it is more open.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you could see all the problems, you could see all the obstacles that the first person saw, but with time you could see other solutions, other like results. And that's what I'm saying. Like we're not looking at it properly. We're looking at it with a very heated, very biased point of view, you know? And it's just no bueno. It's no bueno. Oh my god. But that's what but like my whole argument, I agree with everything that you're saying. There's a big problem that it should be addressed. And like Trump is doing what he can do. Like, sorry, I'm a little biased in the way I talk. Trump is doing what he can do legally, right? But he's also not doing what a good president would do at the same time. He's not...
so what would you have done?
If I was in Trump's position, I would fight for sure. Because, you know, at the end of the day, the person that you want to survive the most is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump believes that there's been injustice, he pursues injustice, and he tries to get the answers. But at the same time, he understands that he is in a position that runs a country, and that there are people that look after him, and that unfortunately, we live in a just world, and because we live in a just world, an unjust world, unjust things will happen. Unjust things might happen to me, to Trump. I need to do things that will produce a great result for individuals if I'm taken out, because that's my job. So like the next, like who's after me? Okay, well it's this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It might be corrupt. He might have got in in a corrupt way. So why don't I do the best that I can to instill him the right principles, instill him the right values, and watch over him carefully.
Set him up for success.
Set him up for success, so that not only will that help him, but it'll help you. Holy fuck, the big bad guy just made this guy look great, just gave him all the resources, really trying to make him good, really trying to help the people. That only could look good on your part.
But again, man, it's such a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword, but like...
That's like giving...
The hardest thing to do is walking on that line.
A guy broke into your house.
Yeah.
And you're like, here, bro, let me give you my gun. I trust you. And the guy's like... What you're saying is you're assuming that the guy's going to react and say like, oh, wow.
Well, we're off the bat saying that someone broke into the house. Right? We're not... like
That's true. That's true.
So let's say
let's back it up.
The fire alarm went off.
Let's back it up.
Yeah. The alarm went off. And it's like you don't know if your neighbor broke into your house or if you just didn't put the alarm on right. You can't really speculate. You could investigate, but you can't really accuse.
You can investigate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying you can investigate.
Why aren't we investigating? That's what I've been trying to tell you this whole time, man.
No, we are investigating.
Like me and you were investigating.
No. I'm saying like no matter who won, the kind of investigation that is being played out now would have been played out on both sides.
But I'm telling you right now.
So I'm saying like
it's not being investigated.
This
is my issue.
It's not being investigated to the extent that you would like, to the extent that Trump would like, to the extent that other people would like. But I'm saying we are in our current present state, this is our reality. It is being investigated to this extent. And I'm saying that regardless of who won, it still would have been investigated to this extent. So if we assume that it would have been investigated to this extent, why don't we move forward with what we have, not with what we wanted?
But if the investigations all just show, you know, a lot, you probably feel too, a lot of the shit we experience in life right now is it's bullshit. It's all lies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the TSA, they investigate you when you come onto the plane, but it's security theater. They don't really do much.
So what are you saying?
They don't actually make planes safe. They just make them seem safe. What I'm saying is, do something about it. Actually,
there is.
Get in there. Investigate properly. Don't just do it for show.
Realize your argument is essentially saying...
You can't just say, oh, I investigated myself and I found no wrongdoing. Well, no fucking shit.
No, of course.
Who admits their own faults?
But you have to see what you're saying here. You're saying that we should investigate. Okay, we agree. Let's investigate. Now the investigation's being done. It's not done. It's in the process of being done. Okay? And now you're saying it's not being investigated properly. It's like, okay, well, what you first wanted is being done, and now you're saying you have another prerequisite. It's not being done the way you wanted. So you're mad. It's like, do you see how like that's like a little like flawed? Like what you want is already being performed.
I see exactly.
And now
where
you
you're
want
coming
it
from.
even in a more biased sense. It's like, okay, well, like, what if we do that? Like, let's follow that train of thought. What if we do that, and it doesn't produce the results you want? Will you be like, it's still not being investigated properly? Like, no, let's back it up. Like, you could keep going.
You don't get the results you want.
Yeah.
And then you come up with an excuse.
Until you get the results you want, because of your actions, because of you not being able to give up, to accept defeat, which needs to be done at a certain point, because then the other party could just switch it up on you and be like, no, you guys didn't invest it the way that we should have wanted. So what you could do
is, before the investigation is complete, you could define a clear line of what it would take to convince you and what it would take for you to, like, accept the results.
I like that.
Before the investigation is completed. And
Define
then
the
investigation, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Then the investigation is carried out to the parameters you're happy with.
Mm-hmm.
You get your results, and then you'd be in a bad position if you reneged and you're like, well, actually, I want to change my mind and I want it to go even further. Then
I think you just said something very insightful.
Then you could say, that person's butthurt, they're looking for a certain result.
I think you're saying it very insightful. You just said something very insightful, and it's like, I will present to you what I deem as acceptable if it is done in this way, very loosely, because we don't want to put too much rules, too much structure, in the sense that it will change it to your side. It has to be fair for both.
Yeah.
Right? So you're like, these are the parameters where it's fair, and if it falls within this category and the result is within these parameters, I will accept it. I don't know, and I don't think that that's being put out right now. I don't think the opposition...
It kind of was, because, like I said, the court systems are already set up to be that way.
So, now we're running into a problem where we're basically saying it should be done a certain way, or it is being done a certain way. But now that we're doing it that way, we don't like it. So we have another argument saying it should... Like, it's not working properly. It's like hopping on to the next thing. It's like saying, like, okay, it should be done like this. Okay, well, let's do it like this. But then you're like, it's not doing it the way I want it to. It's like we live in a broken system, and you're advocating to follow that system. But then when you follow that system, it doesn't produce the result you want. You're again implying that it's broken. Like, like we both just said it was. It's like, you have to make you have to follow me with this. You can't just like go backwards. It's like, okay, yeah, if we both agree to go within a broken system, we have to accept the broken's result. We can try to change that broken system together to produce a better result. But you see, like, that's, and I'm saying, like, if that was on either side, either side was saying this argument, I would advocate against it. You have to.
But you're missing one point. I agree with everything you just said. But the point I'm trying to make is the justice system as it currently exists in the United States, even in Canada, I'd say, but the U.S.'s system I personally believe is better. It has like 200 years of this history of functioning well, where both sides agree, where both sides have set up these delimitations of here's what we want to see happen. And then if those things happen, we'll accept the results. It has a long history of that functioning well.
You're saying it's functioning well.
The legal system functions as best as it's the best thing we've got. It's not perfect, it never will be, but at least both sides for 200 years have been able to come to agreements through that. And we refuse to use that system. We're using other systems instead. Why not use that system?
You're saying the system. You said the system that we had for 200 years is a good system, right?
The legal
and now we're
system,
not using that system.
it's good. I would say it's good. It's not perfect. It's the best we've got. We have a choice to use it.
But we're
for
not
some
using
reason, we're choosing not to use this system, which is the best one we have.
We are using.
And we're
the
using
system.
other systems instead.
We are using the system. We present a case. We have a case, and we present it to the judge, and then the judge, based on the system at hand, then decides whether they want to go through with the case or not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of the system.
Exactly.
So therefore, the judge has the right to say no or yes. And if he chooses no, it's not that they didn't go with the system. The system allowed that. They were within the system's parameters. The system just didn't choose the option that you were advocating for. It's not that it didn't go through the legal course of action. It did. When you have the option to say yes or no, you have to be willing to accept yes or no. If the option is no, then it's no. If it's yes, then it's yes. Right? So it's like, you can't just say, like, put it through the system, and then, like, it's like, okay, then follow the parameters. Okay, so you have to argue something, you have to present a case. Okay, so you make a case, you get all the resources, you get all the facts, and then you're like, okay, now for this case to be, like, argued against, you have to bring it to a review board or a judge, right? So now the judge, it's now his option. So what is your duty? Your duty is to review what's presented to you, make a decision whether we should escalate this and actually produce a debate on this or not. Okay, so now it's left to this person. This person now has two choices, which are two possible choices that could both be utilized, and they both differentiate into two different worlds, but both worlds are legit. You have to accept both worlds if you're accepting the system. We're not making that last step, because now a judge is saying, no,
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it, or maybe I've seen it, I disagree with it, and I don't want to pursue it.
Because if they did say that, that would be a judgment. What they're saying is, I just simply don't want to see it.
Yeah.
There's a technicality here. I'm not going to see it. Come back to me with a fixed thing.
There are so many layers of other relations that are being involved here. So it's like we're trying to attack a certain area, but we're not really looking at all the other complex layers. So if a judge is saying, I don't want to see it, maybe it's because of political implications. Of course, this judge might be producing fraud, right? Like maybe they're
coerced or something.
Coerced, exactly. Yeah. Maybe they have incentive to do this, right? That's one reason. Maybe they're just so uncomfortable with the whole political situation that they don't want to be involved. That's a second reason that we're not really thinking of. Maybe
so they're afraid.
They're afraid. Maybe no, they're not afraid. Like that could be a third reason. Maybe they're afraid that they choose one side, and then the opposite side will attack them.
Okay. Yeah,
so that's a third reason they're afraid. Or maybe they just don't want to be involved at all. They're like, no, I don't want to make a judgment. That's the second reason. So there's three reasons, and there's actually many, many more that we're not really paying attention. We're just focusing on the fact that you can be coerced, and you're probably being coerced. Not let's take away the fact that you want to keep your job just for your own self, because it's your job. Let's not consider the fact that maybe you're afraid for your life and the life of your family, and knowing that choosing one option is saying no to the other option.
Okay, but again, I'm not a legal expert. Although as far as I understand it right now, there are solutions to a problem like that. If a judge doesn't want to see a case, there are still solutions within the system which are being pursued. Like, for example, your judge doesn't want to see a case. You then repackage your case, make it valid, and send it to a different judge. That's not being done. If it does get sent to a different judge,
but that was being done. There was how many cases?
Both parties have to consent. See, both parties aren't actually trying to get to the bottom of it. I think that's the fundamental problem. It's one side is trying to use the legal system, and one side's trying to avoid it as hard as possible.
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, we're not producing both sides of the argument. We're producing one side of the argument. Okay, so yes, one side is taking legal action, and now you're saying that the other side,
they're trying to avoid legal action at all costs possible,
which they're allowed
and they're
to
not
do,
cooperating.
Which they're allowed to do.
They're allowed to do that
based on the legal.
I just think it's disingenuous.
Why are you saying? This is what I'm trying to say. Why are you advocating for one person and not for the other? If we're trying to have an equal system, you have to be on both sides. Like, okay, yes, the red team has the legal authority or like the legal backing to pursue their rights, and the blue team has the legal authority or legal backing to not want to do that because they won. Okay, so you're both right. You both play it out. You shouldn't be angry, like, why aren't they being fair? Or why aren't they helping us out? Well, they don't want to because they don't have to, just like you want to and you're doing it, right? It's like you have 2 kids.
But this is how the system then becomes meaningless and falls apart.
Yeah, so we have a flawed system, but we already knew that, right? We already understood that. But just because it's a flawed system doesn't mean like we're just gonna say fuck it. We're gonna be like, okay, so there's a problem, we're gonna try to like manage it.
But that's like the same as saying, you know,
in helping both parties.
I just robbed you. I stole your property. You sue me, you take me to court, and I'm like, I don't want to participate in this battle in court.
Okay,
you don't have a choice. You gotta go.
How we currently operate is through argumentation. We use language to justify who is right and who is wrong. Who can produce the best arguments will show who is the victor. If you get robbed, we still allow for you to defend your case, defend why, like if I was the robber, I still have rights. I'm still allowed to defend myself.
Absolutely.
As you are allowed to accuse me and defend yourself. So now whoever wins is the best arguer, the person that can produce the best arguments. That's being done. And
you're given a level playing field. That's an important part too, because if it's skewed, that's
every person,
a whole host of other problems.
Every person that's like bringing up the problem or being mad, they're not addressing it on a level playing field. They're not addressing both sides. They're not the judge. They're the accuser. To address the situation properly, you have to be the judge. You can't be the accuser. The judge can understand that there's a problem. The problem's there, and he sees it. Now you have to evaluate it based on both sides. If you're the parent, you're looking down and you have a kid, 2 kids, and they're both confronting each other. Both of the reasons are valid and they should be taken into consideration. But you want to give an unbiased look and a fair opportunity to both sides. So you have to let it play out. And I think,
but you gotta let it play out exactly
like
you
being
said.
Played
but if
out.
The judge just says, "Nah, I don't want to see it."
That's how it is being played out.
That's
the
not
judge
right.
is giving the option. You're now saying because you didn't choose my option that's not right.
But we should be encouraging the judges to just stand up and say, "Okay, I will see it through," instead of just saying, "Nope." We won't let it play out.
No,
but
do you
system.
see we're not. I don't know if we're saying we're contradicting ourselves, but we're saying like there's a system in place, and that system allows for certain options, and now those options are being exercised, and because they're not being exercised in the way we want, we now have an argument saying, you guys should do this. You guys should pay attention to this and look at this. But you're saying that because your option wasn't exercised. If your option was exercised, you wouldn't be saying that. You would be like, fuck yeah, it's being looked into.
Yeah.
It's being looked at. So now the other side.
I see what you mean.
Other side would be like, whoa, you guys shouldn't be doing that.
I see what you mean.
There's gonna be an outcome, and like if you look at both sides, you're like, shit, okay, that was the outcome. It doesn't mean you give up. It's just that you follow it and you move forward with it. People aren't looking at the other side. Red's not looking at the side of blue, and blue's not looking at the side of red. There's no judge. There's just a defendant and an accuser without a judge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally them going at each other's neck. And no one's like, okay, like, order! Like, no one's doing that shit. Yeah, and I think, yeah. So like,
that's what I mean. You do need that person in the middle.
Yeah, you do.
To arbitrate it.
Yeah, you do. And I think we have that. That is like the...
But that's not happening right now. And so what we risk is
why
having
do you keep saying it's not happening right now? Because
fall apart.
Why do you say it's not happening?
Because there's no arbiter in the middle.
There is. It's the legal system that we have. We have a broken arbiter.
Exactly. It's failing before our eyes.
Yeah.
And we're just saying,
that doesn't mean we don't have it.
We got to move forward or the system's broken.
But do you know...
Oh, you got to fight for it, bro.
We have a rigged deck, and we're both playing with a rigged deck. Either neither of us stack the deck, or we both stack the deck. So regardless, we're both playing on equal terms, kind of.
Okay, but if I choose to be honest, and I say, I know you're going to stack the deck, because everyone else I've played today has stacked the deck, I still choose not to stack the deck. my one option moving forward now is to then say, okay, well, let's look through the decks. Let's see. Show me your cards. And then you have a judge who looks at the cards and says, yeah, you're right, you both have the same decks. But then you say, and this is what's happening today, you say, nah, I don't want you looking through my deck. And then the judge, the dealer, whoever's in charge of the casino here, he says, yeah, I'm going to let that slide. It's not right.
What? Yeah, but you simplified it way too much.
You said we each have the option to stack the deck.
Yeah. And you're saying that you're not going to stack the
I'm
deck.
saying no matter what, I'm not going to stack my deck. I'm going to be honest.
And I'm saying I'm going to stack the deck. Let's say I say I'm going to stack
Fine,
the deck.
you say I'm going to stack my deck.
And
And then
so
I
now
come
we have
to
a
you
stacked deck.
and I'm like, well, I don't want to stack my deck. I want to stay honest. So let's reveal our cards, show the deck, and have the arbiter, the judge, look at our cards and make sure that neither of us is stacking the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, nah, I don't want to do
show
that.
my cards.
I don't want to show my cards.
And now the judge is left with the option to look at the deck. You're saying to the judge, I'm not going to stack my deck ever. I want to see his cards. I'm saying, I'm lying. I'm not going to stack the deck ever.
Yeah.
But I stacked the deck. And the judge is now looking at two potential truths or two potential lies, and he's not sure which one to believe.
So he could just look at the cards.
He could. But
Or
this is one
he could
case.
say,
This is one case though, right?
deal with it.
So let's say he looks at it and he sees like, holy fuck, the deck's stacked. That was one scenario. Multiply that now by 1 million, or multiply that by 100,000, 10,000, whatever. There's many more cases. Not every single case will always have a, okay, let's look at the deck. Sometimes there won't be a case that they won't look at the deck. It's not perfect. We are following the path of the person not looking at the deck. And we are also in a position where we don't know who stacked the deck. So it could be that you stacked the deck and I didn't stack the deck.
It's true.
And now I don't want to show my cards, but you want to show the cards. And the judge is like, nah.
But why would I want to show my cards knowing that I've stacked my deck?
Because
I'd be insane.
It's not so simple as just showing your cards in this world, because there's many other things that are at play here. I can't give the best example, but maybe you stack the deck. But
okay.
now,
Okay,
you stack the deck, and you say, I want to show, and it's like, okay, so the judge is like, yes, let's see if the deck's stacked, and now the judge sees like, holy fuck, the deck was stacked, but you were the one that asked for it being stacked. You were the one saying, let's show it, and you produced the stacking. So how do I know that you stacked the deck? It was for sure the other candidate that stacked the deck.
Yeah.
So wait, you try to fuck over the system, and the system didn't actually work in your favor, and this guy won,
so
but he wanted to prove.
I was framed.
Yeah, but he wanted to prove that he won, and you're framed. So you guys really are bad. You see how it could be swayed in a different way? It's a possibility. So,
But still, the best solution here is just to look at the deck.
But
just look at it.
Look at the deck. Yes, that's the best solution. That's the best. That's the ideal. But we're not in an ideal world. We're in a world that the judge is given the option to say yes or no, and it's making it so much more simpler. But the judge is saying yes. Some judges say no. I don't know if we've gone through all the cases yet. I don't know if every judge has said no. But every judge has a chance to say no. So eventually, like if you flip a coin, heads or tails, you might get heads 50% of the time, you might get tails 50% of the time, but there will be a sequence where you'll get 23 heads in a row. That's it can happen. And you can't say, oh, the fucking coin can't speak, I got caught in mouth. The coin flip.
It's like weighted or something.
Yeah, it's like it was like
it's always gonna land.
Unfair. It's like, okay, but like you can't just call wolf all the time. And it's not even just that. Trump has another chance. He's basically throwing away a second opportunity to run again with the display that he's showing. He's saying right now that like if I don't win, I'm gonna throw shit to the fan.
Or he's proving to his supporters that I will fight tooth and nail for you guys through thick and thin till the bitter end, and when it's all said and done, I'm gonna gracefully lose.
And that could be
win.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. That's all I need
That
to say.
could be his position. That could definitely be his position, and that's a good position. You want someone that's going to fight for you. But now you could also see the implications of that. Okay, so someone that's going to fight for us this strong is going to cause this kind of outcome within our society. Political division, potential civil war. Maybe we don't want someone to fight for us so strongly that it will cause a division within our society. Maybe we do want someone like that, but maybe to a lesser extent. So the next guy won't be him, but it'll be like a subversion of him, because that's what we want. We adapt, we change. We don't always want the same thing. We want the better thing. Trump was a good thing. Now we want a better version of Trump or
That
something
sounds
like that.
good, but that's so ripe for abuse. Because as soon as you admit that it's like, I will fight for you, but not enough to cause a civil war. Your opponent knows that. What they're going to do is they're going to push you to that edge, and then they're going to step over the edge, knowing you will never go past.
Well, these are just words, right? These are just words.
Fine.
So
I kind of want to pivot away from this, and
Okay.
I want to give a theoretical situation that kind of relates to what's happening right now.
Okay.
And so, imagine if
sponsored by Monster.
you motherfucker.
Trying to get you that money, bro.
I actually don't like Monster. I'll be honest about that. I know you're
It's fun-
offended,
no, I just-
but go fuck yourself.
And oh shit. Monster's bad for you guys.
Oh man, what was the
Your
say?
theory, sorry.
The theoretical situation. So like, you know, there's been a giant miscarriage of justice. Let's say, you're angry because you know the decks were stacked, and the judge didn't want to see it. Well, at least you still have the right to protest. You have the right to stand up,
Yeah.
flip the table, or maybe not flip the table. That's too violent.
You
have the right to stand up and yell and go,
Yeah.
guys, this casino's rigged. I don't like it. Stop coming here. You have that right still.
Mm-hmm.
But in a theoretical scenario, let's say the winner of the game then gets to decide the rules of the casino, and he could say, I'm going to make it illegal for anyone in this casino to protest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you've just made it so that he will perpetually be the winner. No one's ever going to be able to challenge him because the judge is always going to be on his side.
Mm-hmm.
He rigs his own decks, and if you protest it, you get thrown in jail.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not a great society to live in.
No, that's very totalitarian, right?
That's not a great society to live in.
Yeah. I agree with you.
What if that happens now?
It could definitely happen. It could definitely.
That's why you might want someone to fight tooth and nail for
No,
you.
but yeah, for sure. You want someone to fight for your rights, but then you could also just reproduce the same individual that will always fight for their own rights or fight for themselves, masking themselves. Like, I'm saying it's a possibility.
So then you need some accountability to make sure
But
that they're actually fighting for you,
Let's go
and not
back.
for themselves and lying.
let's go back to the point where you said that if they were never allowed to protest, it would lead to a very corrupt system that the person that won will always win.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we don't prevent the right to protest. So this individual that will always fight for you can. They're allowed. We're allowing this to happen in your theory, in your thought experiment.
But we live in the world where the power is concentrated, and so the winner of the election, or the winner of the
But
card game,
Yeah.
then gets to decide the rules of the next card game.
Yeah, but it's kind of like playing a game of asshole or king, right? You guys all agree on the rules of the game. We are all going to agree on appointing a government. And now we all agree on appointing a president, the pinnacle of the power, right? And whoever gets to be that person has the power. So you play the game, and someone's a president, someone's an asshole, and you play the game. The game's rigged. The president has more power than the asshole, so they will most likely
But
win.
what if you gave the president the power to change the rules of the game after winning?
But wait. Let me follow this for a second.
Sure.
For a second. Whoever wins the game dictates the rules for the next round, kind of, or whatever. Like, they start at the top, and then like it starts with them, which is kind of what's happening, right?
But what's preventing them from changing the rules
Well, wait.
to the point where they will never lose?
Now an asshole gets to be president. right? Because it happens a lot where the bottom gets to be at the top. Switcheroo in this game. But now the person that's now asshole, it's like, hold the fuck up. I don't like the rules of the game. I don't like the structure. It's like, okay, yeah. But before we all started this game, we all agreed on the rules and we all consented to this. This is how it was gonna go down. And now that it's going down but not in your favor, you wanna change up the whole game again? That's what's being played out right now.
Yeah.
It's not fair. If Trump lost, he's allowed to protest. But if he keeps losing in the protest, he has to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just change everything now, and you can't just like destroy the rules of the game. You can't have people breaking into parliament and saying like, change the rules of the game. Like, you guys all agreed on this in the beginning.
Yeah, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, don't just change the whole structure. It's being played out the way you want it to already. Everything that you guys are advocating for, not you guys, sorry, I'm really sorry that I'm putting you with that group, because I know you're playing devil's advocate. And even if you believe this regardless, it doesn't really matter.
I would say currently I tend to lean that way right now. But it changes, man. Because I've changed before in my life, so.
It does change.
Who knows what it'll be like in 5 years?
Yeah, but I feel like we should kind of step away from like being like, that is who you are. It's not who you are. It's just an opinion. It's just a stance you're taking in this moment, you know? So, like, if you change, you change. If you don't, well, you might change in the future.
I don't identify.
Yeah, we should kind of take away the identity. Like, you are this. It's like, that's a thought, bruh. You know, like, that's a momentary thing, you know? So, like, don't put so much weight on that. Regardless, I keep hearing you say that your argument's like it's not being done the right way, but it is being done a certain way. So therefore it's not being done the way you want it to, and that's hard to cope with. That's what everyone else is dealing with, and you feel like, sorry, I thought there's something in the window. You feel like injustice is being served to you, and that might feel like that, but it doesn't like take away from the fact that it is being done. Like, you can't enter a game and agree to the rules of the game, and then when the rules don't work in your favor, be like, the rules are fucked. Like, that always happens. We always see that.
Yeah.
In any kind of sports we play when we're kids, that's a natural reaction. That's why I refer it to a kid's mentality, because saying kid, it kind of degrades the opinion, but I'm trying to say it's a very instant thought. It's me. It's what I want.
I actually have no problem with you calling it a kid.
Okay,
because
thank you.
I actually find society right now it's
childish.
It's very childish.
We are very instantaneous. We're very instant gratification, which is childish.
Like if I had to put humanity somewhere, I'd put us at like 12 years old. We're almost in the teenage years.
I would have went a little higher.
A little higher?
I would have been.
Nah, man.
I would say America is a young adolescent. I would say 14 to 16.
No way, not yet.
They are rebelling, dog.
They
are fighting out.
I could see it.
They are angry. They just got
starting.
They went through puberty.
That's why I said like.
And they're
12.
like, "What the fuck's going on, man?" Like,
they haven't gone through puberty.
You don't
yet.
think so?
No.
Okay, but we can't agree that they're young. That
they're young.
kids.
They're young. Yeah.
So, their reactions is it's not well thought out. It's not post gratification. It's instant gratification. I want this shit done now, and I want it fucking like my way, as a child would think, because they haven't thought it all out yet.
Well, adults think that way too.
They do.
It's our inner animal, because animals think that way. I want it now. Animals don't care about what's happening later.
For sure.
They probably don't even have the concept of later.
So we have an animal as the lowest level. Like, let's not take everything that we're saying here too seriously, but we have an animal as the lowest level of consciousness, and we have now a human, but like on the extreme end of a human, the highest level of consciousness and awareness, observing every single possibility.
Mm-hmm.
We are in that spectrum for sure, and I'm saying, and you're
I
saying,
call it like layers. They're like built on top of each other, so they're all there.
Yeah, you could say layers. I'm saying we're not analyzing things at a level where we're seeing everything. We're analyzing things at a very like childish level, really a level where we're not like, we're not fully developed.
Yeah.
We don't have a fully cognitive brain that's like analyzing everything. We have a very a very teenage mentality where the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. And that happens, I think, that happens at the age of 25 once your prefrontal cortex is fully developed. But depending on your nurture, how you were raised, you're within that degree, you know? So you might have a fully developed prefrontal cortex, but your education, not literally going to school and all that stuff, but how you were taught and raised by society, peers, parents, the system, you might not be at that level where you can analyze everything properly. And I'm not saying you're an idiot. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm just saying you're not there's like a fucking level. Like you're playing a video game. You can't like get to level 45 without first getting to level 44. It's a prerequisite for that.
Unless you cheat.
Unless you cheat, dog. Unless you get the hacks.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a game.
Like the old school Mario where you go on top of the world and you go into the...
Yeah, like you could take shortcuts
the
and
secret
shit.
pipes.
Yeah, for sure. But we don't really have that. Not in a sense where like you can skip a level and then like instantly gain more awareness or more intelligence or more like something that you could just skip. Like you could skip power, right? You could be like an employee at the bottom, mad at your boss, and then mad at the manager who's your boss or your supervisor, and go above him and go to the owner and get that fucker fired. You can skip power, but you can't skip awareness. You know what I'm saying? We have a ton of people, smart people, dumb people, everyone in the middle, who all have an opinion, all have something to say. I'm sorry, I don't think that everyone has a valid or worthwhile opinion. And I think that this is...
But does that mean you shut them up?
This is proven in the simple fact that anyone that can write a book can write a book, and possibly does write a book, but then is every book read?
Yeah.
Only a very few minority are read, and that is because only a very few grab the interest of others. They are worth reading.
Well, this might never be fucking seen.
Oh, bro, but we lived it.
It's true.
And that's enough.
That's all that matters.
That's enough, dog. That's cheesy as fuck. No, honestly, bro, like it doesn't really fucking matter, because just like all the books that were ever written, they were still written, and it's not like they won't ever be read by at least one person. Oh, that's all it needs. One person. It doesn't need to be read by everybody. But like that's what I'm saying, you know, like not every opinion matters to the masses. It still matters to you. Have that fucking opinion. Formulate that opinion. Try to put it into the world. But if it doesn't get accepted, it's not that. It's just like the law of like, it's kind of like a law of nature. Not everything will be given equal access. You know, like the Matthew principle?
Probably familiar with the principle, not familiar with the name.
Forgive me if I butcher it. To those who have everything, more will be given. To those who have nothing, everything will be taken. There are systems in place, or not systems in place, but there are things...
Oh, slow down.
Yeah, you want to think it out?
Yeah.
Fucking think it out, bro, because it's a mind. It's like a mind fuck.
Say that again.
To those who have everything, more will be given. To those who have nothing, everything will be taken. In very simple terms, capitalism. Those that have everything,
more will be given.
More will be given. The people at the top just constantly gain wealth and an exorbitant amount compared to those in the middle, upper, lower, whatever. They gain it at a much faster rate. Those at the bottom have nothing. And because they have nothing, they cannot build anything upon nothing. They're not even given the chance. Everything is taken away from them. If you're starting off at ground zero with no nourishment, how are you gonna okay, you're forced to find nourishment, but you have none. You have no fuel, so you have no ability to look for food. If you started with food, now you could look for more food, and you could gain more food. You're at least given that option. People that are at the bottom have nothing, so they can't even produce anything. And it's like...
But why did you equate that to capitalism?
It's just a very easy example to see. With money.
I don't see it that way. The way I see it is in capitalism, you have these benevolent people at the top that end up... they find a way to give some kind of capital or machinery or tools to the people that have nothing, and they enrich them through that. And then, of course, the people that are given this work and they give up their time for it. But I see it as a very collaborative kind of thing going on.
Ideally, yeah. Like, that's how it should be. People at the top are producing something really essential and they're giving it to everyone else.
But they're not producing it alone. They're producing it through the labor of the people that don't have the capital.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
They have to.
But then who has all the money? The guy that owns it or all the people that work to produce it?
It's distributed fairly because they get to bargain with each other.
It's not, though. It's not being distributed fairly. The owners have all the wealth. The workers have a smaller portion of the wealth.
But they still get part of it.
They still get part of it.
And they're free to choose to bargain with the owner how much they're going to get.
Yeah.
And if they don't like that, they can go to a different guy.
Yeah, but the law
that's the thing.
The law still applies, though.
I just described the cooperative aspect of capitalism, but there's also competitive aspects to capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you're a poor person, all you have is to give your time and your labor and your blood and your sweat.
Mm-hmm.
What you still have is choice.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody could take that choice away from you. You could choose to give it to this guy for $4 an hour, or this guy for $5 an hour, maybe another guy for $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And you compete.
Mm-hmm.
And because everyone knows that you're probably going to choose the guy that's offering 10, they will also offer you 10, so things end up equalizing.
Competition, right? Yeah. You can gain,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Free choice is a part of this, 100%.
And then
You're allowed.
You chip away. You get richer and richer over time. You save. If you make shitty decisions, you lose. But if you make good decisions, you move up.
You're allowed to move up the scale.
Mm-hmm.
People are allowed to move down the scale. Because of these varying degrees, it is definitely possible. It's not like it's not possible, but it still produces the same effect because now you have a worker and you have an owner. The worker is free to choose where to go to get the best employment, but that doesn't change the fact that they're still a worker and they're still an employer. There will always be more workers than there will be employers, by the simple fact that some person will own something and will need more people to run it. So right there, you already have someone at the top, someone at the bottom. These people at the bottom can obviously...
But why do you have to see it top bottom?
Well,
I'm seeing them as equals.
They are
and
equals.
They need to cooperate. Just because there's more of one and less than another doesn't mean one's more important than the other.
No, we're not saying importance.
They're very equal.
Take away importance. That's why I feel like people put importance into a discussion when it's really irrelevant. We're talking about size. We're talking about quantity. We're saying that there are a lot more people. There's a much bigger size that has a much smaller amount of wealth in terms of money. Not importance. Take away importance. Importance doesn't mean shit.
But so now then those two factors balance out because you have more people, each one has less.
Yeah.
Well, then they average out.
How do they balance out?
They average out because you have a lot of people that have very little.
But we're talking in terms of money.
It averages out to
We're talking in terms of money. We're saying one person, let's say one person owns the business, that person has $100 and they have 10 employees who will each have $10.
That equals out. They're equal.
No. But I'm saying like
10 times 10 is the same as 1 times 100.
That's wasn't it because we're saying that they're equal. Yeah, okay. But now we put them on an individual side-by-side comparison. $10 to $100. Okay, the next person, let's compare them to that same $100. $10 to $100. Now
yeah, on an individual basis, people aren't equal.
That's what I'm saying. And it's not a matter of importance. It's just like, okay, if you've accumulated more wealth, you have more wealth. And the people that have accumulated the most wealth have, wealth is like possibility almost, because we live in a capitalistic society. So whoever has
Actually, that's another thing I disagree with. I don't think we live in a capitalist society at all right now. It's like fake capitalism that we live in.
Regardless, we live in a somewhat capitalist society.
I don't even think that's true either.
Okay, we could keep knocking off the argument, hitting it further down.
Yeah, anyways, it doesn't matter.
But we have to like run on one line of reasoning and then build upon it. So let's say we were in a capitalist society. They will produce owners and there will be producing employees. Owners will always have more than employees, and employees can always become an owner.
Mm-hmm.
and an owner can always become an employee, but the chances are very skewed of an owner dropping rather than an employee rising. Because when you have more of something, it's easier to gain. You have more possibilities because you have more. Just a simple fact that if you have nothing, you can't really do anything. But now give that person an item. Now their possibilities expand in comparison to that item that they now have. Give them 2 items, now their possibilities expand to those individual items, what those individual items can produce, and what those 2 individual items can produce in unison. So now you have more possibilities.
So again, this is why I love capitalism so much, because it incentivizes the people who have to give to the people that have none. Invest in them. Spend your capital, invest in your employees.
Okay.
Give them possibilities. Because if your competition decides to be greedy and they don't do that, they got nothing. But if you decide to invest in your employees, you build them into something that's more than zero, you're going to end up winning out over that competition that's greedy.
Okay.
So it incentivizes this kind of good behavior. Because the only way to get wealthy under capitalism, the only way is to enrich others. You can't be greedy and only enrich yourself.
Oh, man.
You could be greedy and channel that greed into enriching others, and then by effect, you enrich yourself.
You're advocating.
Everyone gets richer under capitalism.
It's such an easy stance to take, arguing for an ideal, because it's an ideal. It's not something that's going to be practiced fully ever. It's so easy to say under capitalism, under socialism, under communism, under fascism, under Nazism.
But I can explain to you
it's all ideals at the end of it.
Very rationally, very rigorously.
You can explain socialism. I love socialism. And you could explain communism and why it works. For sure. These are all ideals. But when implemented, when an ideal is implemented into a biased society or in a biased individual, there will be corruption to a certain extent. An ideal is a thought. And a thought is perfect in the sense that it can always be made perfect.
Yes.
Once it is acted out, it changes. So of course.
So look at the real world. Every single time socialism, communism has been implemented, it becomes corrupt.
It has failed.
It fails.
What's to say that
every single time capitalism has been implemented, it works?
No. You just said you're contradicting yourself now, because you just said that we live in a broken capitalist society. You said that the capitalist. You're like, I don't even think we're in capitalism.
Because our capitalism got subverted.
But you just said capitalism, whenever it's implemented, it works.
You got to
contradictory.
You got to fight for your capitalism. You have to maintain it.
Pause.
It doesn't maintain itself.
Pause. Are we in a fully capitalist society?
No.
So what did you just say?
Well, okay.
You just said.
I got to clarify.
Okay.
Capitalism.
If implemented properly, works.
If implemented properly, works, but you have to maintain it. You got to fight for it.
Okay. These were the same things that were said about socialism and communism.
It's a little bit unstable, but it's way more stable than socialism.
But let's not take away from the fact that capitalism, socialism, communism is an ideal. Socialism.
Yes, they're all unstable to a certain degree.
Socialism and communism have both been implemented under the guise of saying, if we do this right, if we maintain this right, it'll work out. And in both instances, they haven't.
But some are better than others.
Some are better than others. And that is probably why we have capitalism right now currently. And that is probably why we are running under capitalism. Because maybe it's a little bit better than socialism and capitalism. But let's not take away from the fact that it has its own flaws and that it's not being run perfectly. Even though it's being, yes.
Well, fundamentally, everything in nature is unstable.
Exactly.
It tends to decay.
So rather than constantly focus at an ideal state, and I have to leave, by the way. We've been talking for hours, bro. Rather than focusing on an ideal state, which is what we always do, we're focusing on something fake, and we're not really paying attention to something that's right in front of us. We're not really focusing on how to make what we currently have better. We're like, why isn't it perfect? Why isn't it perfect? Like, okay, it's like we're kind of being stupid, in the sense we know perfection is impossible, but we're constantly advocating for it. It's like, are you trying to cuck yourself at the same time? Like, are you trying to shoot yourself in the foot? I want perfection, but I know I will never have it. So it's like, what the fuck? Like that's the kind of like feeling that I get when
Why not?
What do you mean? Why not? It's just right.
What if that drive?
That's
that
insanity
pursuit,
right there.
What if that pursuit is what gives you that meaning in life?
You're running on a broken pursuit. You're running on a pursuit that will never lead you. You're like, it will never lead you.
You know you'll never get there.
So it's insane.
But god damn it, you could still try.
Yeah. But you're kind of advocating for, let's try this thing that will never happen.
So what's the alternative?
Instead of, let's try something that can constantly get better.
What's the alternative?
Something that could constantly get better.
Well, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point of constantly getting better?
But yeah, wait, pause.
If your goal isn't to eventually
wait, you just said that's what we're doing. We're trying to make something constantly get better. So now you're fighting for a different argument. Now you're not fighting for the ideal. You're fighting for something that's constantly getting better. You can't have both positions at the same time and constantly switch back from the other depending on how you feel about it.
Intrinsically, if you're fighting for perfection and you know you're imperfect, like just by following the logic, you're getting better. That's like intrinsically assumed.
Yeah, but you're kind of like, okay, so why don't we continually get better, but under the guise of growth rather than perfection? One is real, one is possible. Growth is possible. It's something that you're doing. One is a lie. Perfection is a lie. You're still growing, but now you're growing under a lie. So would you rather grow under the truth or under a lie? One is productive, one is not.
I think I see the difference.
You could still have the same things. It's just like, are you following... so I shouldn't say like, are you following the right path or the wrong path? But there is one path that's better. And that path can always change. And you should always go on the path that's better. You should not go on an absolute. Absolutes are ideals. They're flawed. Because you can't practice it. You're not an absolute. You're not an ideal. If you are a flawed creature...
Well, that's a bit of a contradiction.
Okay.
Because you're saying you're absolutely flawed.
No.
There's no chance that you're not flawed.
I didn't say that you're absolutely flawed. You are flawed.
Is there any chance that you're not flawed? That you're perfect?
There are some aspects that I don't know if... Okay, I don't believe in perfection. I'm a person that always strives for perfection. I want perfection, and I know that perfection is impossible. So I'm trying to take away the goal of perfection.
So you get the next best thing, which is just improvement.
Improvement, exactly, and that's the goal. Improvement. Improve on what you had. Build on what you have. Constantly build. You'll never attain the sky, but you'll always have something better and stronger.
But if you have the goal, that'll give you the direction. You set your goal, which is what you consider perfection, and then you know which way to go.
Yeah. You need a goal. I agree with you. But you should have a SMART goal, which is why there's an acronym for it, right? And like SMART. Oh, I'm gonna butcher it.
Specific, measurable.
Okay, thank God.
Achievable.
Yes.
Realistic, time-oriented.
Yeah. So there are rules for goals, right? At least like that's a simple example. But there are rules for goals, and one of them is being realistic. An ideal, an absolute, a perfection is not a realistic thing. Not something attainable. You can't properly...
I would say it's realistic.
You think perfection is realistic?
Maybe not achievable.
Okay, realistic in the sense that we can understand it, we can see it. We not see it, sorry, but we can theorize it. We can think about it. Yeah.
So it's real.
It's real in the sense,
not achievable.
Yeah. So like.
But what if it was?
What was SMART? Attainable?
What if you?
Was it attainable?
Putting yourself.
Yeah,
in
but
the
now we're stepping into the realm of hypotheticals and possibilities.
Oh, we're going more into philosophy now. What if you thinking that it's unattainable makes it so?
Hold up.
You're putting yourself into a defeated mindset.
We're skipping. You know, we're tippy-toeing around the obstacle. We're choosing not to confront it. We're saying that perfection is not attainable, but now you're switching to, what if it was attainable? Let's think about what if it was, but hold the fuck up. Why are you even trying to think of that when we've already established that it's not.
Well, you just said you don't like absolutes. You're saying we're absolutely flawed. There's no chance we're not flawed.
No. Okay.
That's the paradox I was alluding to earlier.
Maybe we are absolutely flawed, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we could constantly build on top of ourselves and constantly get better.
Yeah.
We will always be flawed, for sure, because there is no perfection. That's not to say that we should not try to be better than what we were before. Perfection is just like, it's a value that isn't really something that you could physically hold. It's not, I don't know, I keep struggling with this. Tangible. Is that something that you could hold? Is that something that you can measure? It's tangible?
I don't know the
exact definition for it
of tangible, but yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
right? It's not like, that's like, you could talk about it, that's a value, but it's not perfect. Like telling the truth is a value, right? You will never be able to say the truth perfectly. You can always strive to say the truth. You could get as close as possible to it, but you will never be completely at it. You will never be that embodiment. That embodiment is not physical. Therefore, if it's not physical, how can you be it? Right? It's not possible. At a certain point, you have to be like, okay, at this point, maybe it's possible in the future. That's why we still think about it. Maybe we will be so advanced one day, I don't even know, that we could become a god, or we could become an ideal itself, or we could attain perfection. I don't think so. But maybe it can happen. That's later down the road.
See, what I'm trying to tell you is, what if by thinking that, you then make it true? You don't think it's possible, you've just made it impossible.
That's why...
But if you think it's possible, it's still open.
That's why, like, you could have... Yeah. That's why you can still think of it, right? It's not like it's forbidden to think about. You can still think of it. But you know, or not that you know, I don't want to talk in absolutes, to defeat your argument without giving you a way out. You could think about it.
The constant fight.
It's always easy to counter argue. It's always easy to like bring up another question or bring up another like, okay, now answer this. Okay, now answer this. Now okay, now answer this. It's always easy to curve around, but like by doing that, you're not really making progress. You're just adding more questions, presenting yourself to move forward. And that's what I mean is with like the whole Trump thing, bringing it all the way back. It's like you're constantly tippy-toeing around the problem. You're not addressing it fully. You can definitely think of like perfection and strive for it, knowing that you might not be able to achieve it. It's like you at least have to be, you could be insane in trying to attain something not possible, but at least add in some sanity, knowing that you might not be able to attain it. Strive for it, but know that you might not get it, I guess. So like, you're still building on yourself. There's still this growth mentality of constantly getting closer. I'm almost there. Just know that you might never get there, but the journey is not a waste of time. It's the closest thing you can get to it, I guess. I don't know. I just love talking about it. Dude, thank you for having me. We gotta do it again.
Absolutely.
But I do have to go. I need to take another piss, and I don't want to get thorns on me again like
I
last
understand.
time. Oh my god. I took a piss in the bushes, and I got thorns all over me, and it's like, god damn it, I just had to take them all off. It took me a good minute. Don't want to do that again. Let me ask you something. Do you believe in all these things that we were talking about, or were you being devil's advocate? And before you even answer that, I want you to know that like it doesn't matter. Like whichever opinion you have. Like have your opinion. You know, but I want to know, were you being devil's advocate, or did you believe in that stuff?
I'd say 90%. I would currently, yeah. I'd believe in it now. Okay. 10%. I still enjoy being devil's advocate. That's like my favorite thing. Like I said, I'm a critic. I love criticizing. It's just, I complain and I criticize.
I love being devil's advocate too. It's a great way to see the other side. That's why in my head, I kind of always play devil's advocate to every thought. which is kind of fucking stupid and insane. But like I'm just constantly accustomed to seeing both sides.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's one thing that I want to add. I never thought I would actually believe this side. Like, there was a time earlier on in my life where I was on the other side, and I could think about this side here, but I never thought I'd stand there physically. And now I'm experiencing it. I feel like I'm standing there physically on the side that I never thought I'd be on. So it's
tough. Like, that's tough to be. Like, tough to to go through.
But in a way, I find it like massively enjoyable. It's like so new.
It is, yeah. Because it's like you just said, it's new.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're feeling like, oh my god, I never thought that this would happen, and now I'm experiencing it. It's like it's kind of like your mind is blown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then after a certain while, you remember that you experienced the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have both perspectives. After a while of like enjoying the other side, you can gain both sides again.
Yeah, that's.
And then you're like, okay, I know how red thinks and I know how blue thinks. And if
that's
I know
the big one.
it's the third step. It's the hardest step.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could kind of be fair. And like, okay, I know that he's gonna say this, and I know this is gonna be the argument, and I know where that's gonna lead because this is how he's gonna respond. And to be fair, this person's gonna do the same thing. Okay, so I know that they're both doing this. So how do I find an equal ground?
Mm-hmm. And that's why I love being the devil's advocate.
Because you gain that.
Because it puts you in those shoes for that moment.
Yeah. Maybe what we need is more people willing to be the devil's advocate, so that they could understand the other side, but not to essentially switch sides. Don't take a side. Understand both sides so that you can step away from the sides. You know, understand both sides so that you can make a clear judgment concerning both, because you want both at the end, right? They're both part of the population. Both ideas are part of the argument.
Yeah. Just let them fight it out.
Let them fight it out, yeah. But then you'll never have a resolution, and you'll always have conflict.
There doesn't have to be a resolution. What if conflict is the resolution? What if that's how we?
As long as conflict doesn't.
We need. It's like it's part of us. So why are we trying to destroy it?
Conflict is necessary, but not totally. We can minimize conflict, and we can, and
yeah, we can minimize it.
It's like saying, yeah, death is necessary, but that doesn't mean we should just go on and off everybody, because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen eventually.
Like, you're gonna die, bro. Like,
might as well do it now.
Yeah, exactly, dog. like imagine, like, it's gonna happen, you know. Like,
yeah.
But like, okay, yeah, it's gonna happen. But how about we try to like prevent it from happening for as long as possible until it has to.
Mm-hmm.
That's conflict. Let's prevent it as long as possible until we have to cap that person.
It's the last resort.
Exactly. Yes, debates.
Yo, we actually kill it every time, man.
Gang. Yeah, honestly, bro, like 0 to 100 right away. Like, we were discussing even before this happened, and it was just fucking like that.
Yeah.
Get it?
When was it? 2 weeks ago? We pulled up into that parking lot?
Yeah, and instantly. And
it was like we hadn't seen each other for months. Mm-hmm. And then, bang.
It's like, yo, how you doing? Okay, so like this is what I was doing at work, alright? Like, instantly at
zero small talk.
Yeah, it's like fucking jump into it. Like, I love that. And it's like the best part is, it's like not only do we have that, but it's like at the end of the conversation, we still have that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're ending the conversation after having two different sides, and we're just like, yo, like, gang. Like, god damn it. It's great.
Still love each other.
Exactly, brother. That's needed more. You know, maybe like the instant click is not possible with everybody, but at least the end part is.
Yeah.
I gotta get on.
And on that note,
I gotta get on it again, bro. Thanks for having me. Respect.
Yep. I don't think that needs a lot more explanation. We're just two very good old friends having a mental battle, a conflict, a fight of words in a civilized way. And even though we disagree on so many things, we can still find common ground. We can still find things that we can agree on. I mean, it's not a sign of weakness to say, yeah, you know what? You're right.
I didn't see it that way. But at the same time, you could also stand your ground and say, nah, I disagree with you. I think you're wrong. I think I'm right. All while still getting along.